The Chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Ways and Means. Today is May 28, 2024. This hearing is being recorded. It is also being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-TV and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, BIOS Channel 964. The Council's budget review process will encompass a series of public hearings that begin in April and will run through June. We strongly encourage residents to take a moment to engage in this process by giving testimony for the record. You can do this in several ways. One, attend one of our hearings and give public testimony. We will take public testimony at the end of each departmental hearing and also at 2 hearings dedicated to public testimony. The full hearing schedule is on our website at boston.gov/council-budget. Our next scheduled hearing dedicated to public testimony is tonight at 6 p.m. Looking forward to seeing all of our residents there. You can give testimony in person, here in the chamber, or virtually via Zoom. For in-person testimony, please come to the chamber and sign up on the sheet near the entrance. For virtual testimony, you can sign up using our online form on our Council Budget Review website or by emailing the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov. When you are called to testify, please state your name and affiliation, residence, and limit your comments to a few minutes to ensure that all comments and concerns can be heard. 2, email your written testimony to the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov. Or 3, submit a 2-minute video of your testimony through the form on our website. For more information on the City Council budget process and how to testify, please visit the City Council's budget website at boston.gov/council-budget. Today's hearing is on dockets number 0670 through 0672. Orders for the FY25 operating budget, including annual appropriations for departmental operations for the school department and for other post-employment benefits. Docket number 0673 through 0675. Order for capital fund transfer appropriations. Docket number 0676 through 0678. Orders for the capital budget, including loan orders and lease purchase agreements. These matters were sponsored by Mayor Michelle Wu and referred to the committee on April 10, 2024. The focus of this hearing will be discussed the FY25 budget for the Office of Participatory Budgeting. Today I'm joined by my council colleagues in order of arrival: Council Flynn, Council Murphy, Council Santana, Council Fitzgerald. I'd like to now introduce today's panelists testifying on behalf of the administration. Director of Office of Participating Budgeting, Director Costello, Chief Financial Officer for the City of Boston, CFO Grafenberger. The floor is now yours.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Chair. Councilors, thanks for having us here today. I'm Ashley Grafenberger, the Chief Financial Officer. We are very excited to be here today to talk to you about the Office of Participatory Budgeting. I know it's been a long time coming in getting this office up and running, so we're really delighted to be able to be here today to talk to you about the incredible progress that we have seen over the last couple of months, almost a year now since we've had Director Costello on board. So I'm going to turn it over to him and he will walk you through the process that we have gone through and some of the work we're looking forward to launching in just a couple of months.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, Chairman, City Councilors, and members of the public. My name is Renato Castello, and I am the Director of the City's Office of Participatory Budgeting. I have a short presentation to introduce the office, share some of the progress that we've accomplished so far, and our plans for launching the first participatory budgeting pilot initiative this summer. So what is participatory budgeting? Participatory budgeting is a democratic process where community members decide how to spend part of a public budget. PB, or participatory budgeting, started as an anti-poverty measure in 1989 in Porto Alegre, Brazil. Since then, it has spread to hundreds of cities around the world and has been used to decide budgets from states, counties, cities, housing authorities, schools, and other institutions. This is according to the Participatory Budgeting Project. Participatory budgeting is a practice that deepens democracy, builds stronger communities, and creates more equitable distribution of public resources. Implemented throughout cities in the US, including New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Durham, and locally in Cambridge and Somerville. The implementation of PB in cities vary due to local factors. Municipalities often go through several iterations of process improvements to enhance the program's effectiveness, efficiency, and impact over time. A little background on the office. A concerted community effort led Boston voters to approve a ballot measure in the 2021 municipal elections to create an Office of Participatory Budgeting. The ordinance establishing the office was adopted by Mayor Wu and city councilors in the spring of 2023. And the mission of the office is to provide an official point of entry for Boston residents to contribute to the city's budget process. OPB, the name of our office, the acronym, advances this mission by furthering public engagement and direct democratic involvement, building collective capacity on issues of racial and social justice, and aligning with the city's goals of achieving and embedding equity and inclusion into city practices. Our strategy is through collaboration with city departments, partnerships with community organizations, and guidance from the External Oversight Board. Our office plans to host yearly participatory budgeting cycles to allow for continuous public engagement in order to offer opportunities for the public to propose creative new ideas, community-centered project ideas to address local needs, and gauge resident priorities to inform the city's annual budget. With this strategy, we're trying to accomplish two goals. The first one is what's traditionally called participatory budgeting, where residents propose ideas and vote on those they'd like to see funded with the office's budget. The second goal is to, through the analysis of all project ideas in the PB process, be able to identify resident needs and priorities that can help inform the city's future budget investments and department's future budget investments. Some considerations for our process here in the city. Participatory budgeting is a citywide process that is inclusive of all Boston residents. The process builds collective capacity on issues of racial and social justice. The office has a resident-based external oversight board to guide and oversee the process. It's a 9-member resident board. And the office allows for infrastructure projects as well as program and service type of projects. The expectations for this pilot year is to establish a new office and standard operating procedures for the first year of participatory budgeting in Boston, and to evaluate and incorporate feedback during the pilot year to inform future cycles. We're calling this a pilot year because it will be a year of a lot of learning and lessons learned to continue to improve over time. We plan to operationalize the implementation of the pilot year projects voted on by residents, and also create a publicly available PB citywide priorities brief that can help inform future city and departmental budget investments. So here we have the timeline and phases, and we divided the timeline in two parts. First is the planning process, the one on top. Since early January, the Office of Participatory Budgeting and the External Oversight Board, in meetings open to the public, created what we're calling a rulebook. This is a document that can be found on our website and contains the parameters and procedures that will guide the implementation of participatory budgeting in the city. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the time commitment, the effort, and thoughtfulness of the 9 members of the External Oversight Board, which met weekly for an hour and a half over the course of 3.5 months to consider our office's research and recommendations, as well as input from the public and advocates. From April through the end of June, our office has been planning for the implementation of Cycle 1, focusing on plans for outreach and communications, equity guidelines for the process, and working with our evaluation partners to determine the best approach to assess of efforts during this pilot year. The second part is the implementation phase. We expect to kick off the PB process in early July with idea collection, where we'll ask Boston residents to share their project ideas with us. In August and September, our office will work with the city's data analytics team to identify the top 15 community priorities that emerge from residents across the city. During October and November, these 15 priorities and their associated ideas will be brought back to the public in the form of visioning forums and online engagement. And here is a space for residents to be able to engage with our office, relevant city departments, and discuss the feasibility and impact of the ideas under each community priority. The visioning forum attendees will be able to help us draft ballot proposals, and those who cannot attend those in-person forums can also provide feedback online. During proposal development in December, OPB and the board will do a final review of the final ballot proposals and will incorporate any relevant feedback that we received online. We will also work with city departments to determine the estimated cost for each proposal. January will be the time for voting. Boston residents will be able to vote in person and online, and for 5 out of the 15 proposals. And the proposals with the most votes will be awarded up to the funding cap of that particular PV cycle. From February through April, we'll determine the best way to implement proposals and fund projects. And implementation, monitoring, and planning for Cycle 2 will start in May of 2025. In terms of next steps and upcoming milestones, we continue to have board meetings every 2 weeks, and these meetings are open to the public and focus on refining the implementation plans for July. We are focusing on outreach and engagement, coordinating with city departments, collaborating with community partners, and refining any marketing and branding and outreach strategy to connect with residents. And to prepare for the launch, there is this idea collection campaign in July. And we are planning to have 4 main ways for residents to engage with our office. One is through an online portal that is multilingual, and people will be able to share their project ideas with our office in that way. Also, we'll have a multilingual phone line that people can call and leave a message with their ideas. We also are partnering with the Boston Public Library, and we're having what we're called PV Corners in each library branch across the city, and we'll have one of those here at City Hall too, where people can fill out in person a paper form with their idea. And lastly, we are really relying on our partnerships with community organizations. We will be working with a handful of these community organizations so they can host idea collection workshops in their communities focused on residents who have experienced traditionally higher barriers for engaging in this type of processes. And we're creating what we call a toolkit. And this toolkit will be basically an agenda and an example of how to run this idea collection workshop. Anyone can download this toolkit. So whoever wants to host a meeting about participatory budgeting can download this document and host these conversations in their neighborhoods. That's the overview for today. You can visit us at boston.gov/participate, and you can also find our rulebook on that site. Thank you very much. I welcome any questions.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge that Councilor Mejia and Councilor Braden has both joined us. Now I'll turn it over to my council colleagues for first rounds of questions. Councilor Flynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the administration team that is here as well. Can you talk about fiscal responsibility and how this money will be spent appropriately, knowing that Boston is facing a difficult time economically, whether we're going to tax the business community or tax residents? How are you going to ensure taxpayer money is spent appropriately?
Thank you.
Ashley, do you mind if I ask that to the director?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. So we are, I'll speak about different parts of how we're spending the funding. One is the operations of the office, right? That's salaries and equipment. That's kind of like a set amount. But we're also being very thoughtful on the contracts and the vendors that we're engaging with, especially ensuring that they are minority-owned businesses, and also making sure that we do a competitive bidding to ensure we get the best price for the services that we are needing. And then in terms of the amount of money for projects that we're excited to see what residents would like to see done with those fundings. We have a set amount for projects. So that's money that residents will be able to determine what type of initiatives, what type of projects or services they'd like to see in their community. And that's funding that has been reserved for that purpose. So that will be my answer. Mm-hmm.
The $2 million for a new budget, I think, for a new city department, I think that's significant. I think that's a high amount. I'm concerned about the community process as well. Does this become a campaign for the community to weigh in on what is important to them in their particular neighborhood? Or is this about what's in the best interest of the residents of Boston and Boston's footing on economic stability, knowing that we are going into a tough economic time? But do we factor that in, or are we just going to ensure that residents' voices, whoever puts in the most emails, is awarded the funding?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a good question. The way we are running the process this pilot year, we're running a citywide process, and we were trying to determine how to go about that concern that you're sharing. So we want residents to give us ideas they care about at the local level, but we're also asking if ideas will serve the city at large. And the way we'll address this concern is that during idea collection in July, we will look at all the data and all the ideas we receive and identify the top priorities that emerge from residents citywide. So in that sense, the proposals that will get to the ballot at the end are not necessarily location specific or neighborhood specific, but they will be proposals that organizations from across the city will be able to apply for funds to implement locally across the city. So for example, if we hear that Boston residents are really interested in workforce training programs for residents, for returning citizens, residents coming back to society after incarceration, we will put forth funding for that proposal, and organizations from across the city will be able to apply for funds and implement to whatever's more needed in their part of the city. So in that sense, we are really interested in hearing local ideas, but at the moment of funding, we want to open the funds so this can be done citywide.
Thank you. I just want to go on the record. I think the $2 million is a significant amount of money that your department is receiving as a brand new department without a track record of success. And I do think it's a figure that in this time, during these uncertain economic times, I think it's a little too high, in my opinion, and I just want to acknowledge that. Ashley, what do you think?
I was just going to add the ordinance, in addition to defining sort of the high level goals of this process and the process, and defining the process itself, it also did have fiscal responsibility in mind. And it's very clear in the ordinance and in the process that the director and the board have designed that the proposals that go on the ballot are intended to be one-time projects in nature and not create ongoing costs for the city. So in the event that there is, a downturn and the city was needing to, pull back or, make any choices to deal with, reduce revenues, the office is not creating projects that will have ongoing costs for the city.
Now, when you mention voters will they'll go to the ballot, what do you mean they'll go to the ballot? They'll go to their voting booth in their neighborhood and vote on something, or they'll do it electronically, or?
So it's a bit different from the traditional election. So we're looking at voting online with a code that residents can access and vote for their top proposals. But we're also partnering with public libraries. So people can go, there will be a ballot booth, and they will be able to vote on their top 5 proposals. So we're looking into a combination of online and in person for access.
So whatever group is more organized, regardless of how the proposal is, whatever group is more organized and is able to get out their vote, in a sense, wins and gets the funding, the taxpayer money. Is that accurate?
So we'll be able to fund more than one proposal, most likely, but these are it's not a perfect process, I would say. I think it's an exercise in civic engagement and civic education. We're going to be trying to work with different organizations and being very thoughtful about the outreach that we do to ensure that we bring voices that are not typically engaged in these processes. So there may be some of what you mentioned about groups that are very organized, but we will make our best efforts to try to expand that to other residents.
I just think it's an opportunity for potential conflict and confusion, and having a campaign, a public campaign such as running for city council to get one of your ballot initiatives through is not in the best interest of the residents of Boston, in my opinion, during these difficult economic times. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. Kind of on the same way we just ended Councilor Flynn's question, some thoughts I have. How are we going to guarantee equity when we know many nonprofits that do amazing work, but they have the funding to hire 1, 2, sometimes 3 full-time staff that are paid very well to lobby us on the council, right? So there's the ability for many nonprofits to not just have volunteers in a neighborhood who sign on to a chain email that they send us, but actually show up to these hearings and hold their own meetings to engage residents. How do we weigh that? And you're talking about voting. I mean, many of our neighborhoods, wards, and precincts have less than 8% turnout for a regular election. How much of a percentage of the final decision on where this money going will be based on the vote of the residents?
I can tell you thank you for the question. One of the strategies that we're testing this pilot year is to contract with community organizations that are trusted by residents, so they can help us do outreach education.
And how do you say trusted? Because they've already been lobbying city official, like what's the checklist to say trusted? And do you have a list of those that you're using this first year for us to see?
Yeah, we are in conversations with the organizations. We are kicking off in July, so some of the considerations is their capacity to be able to do the work we're asking of them, but there's a lot of interest. As soon as we confirm or have a definite list, I'll be happy to share. Yeah.
Who are you talking with now, though? You said you've already started those conversations, so who are the nonprofits that are already part of these conversations?
I don't feel comfortable sharing now just because there hasn't been a formal contracting
But with
process.
all due respect, I mean, we're the city council that has to approve. And if you're already reaching out to certain organizations and we're not aware of that, like, shouldn't we know? Like, because then it seems like they have a upper hand in this first round if they're already being reached out to by a department that just started.
Yeah, it's a broad swath of organizations. So these are the organizations that are going to help engage residents at that first stage of the process and bringing people together to gather ideas, right? And so
which then will turn into a vote. So
we'll intake tons of ideas, and then it will go through a process with our data analytics team to sort of those, hopefully thousands of ideas that we intake, to figure out, are there themes that emerge? And so it'll be more thematic. So it's not going to be, the themes that emerge from that idea collection process will then move on to a resident-led visioning forum in which people will come up with the actual proposal that will go on the ballot.
Can I respectfully, though, is this what your office does, Renato? What she's speaking about?
Yes.
Okay, so you can answer that correctly. I'm just not. Yeah.
So I would just say,
you are the director of this new department, right?
Yes, correct.
That we've funded $2 million for it. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Something that I'll say is that we're looking at this year as a testing ground for this model. It's something, this has happened in the city before with youth. So there's the Youth Lead the Change program since 2014. So it's fairly similar. What we're doing is expanding to all Boston residents. To respond to your initial question, the way we are trying to ensure that voices that are not traditionally engaged in this type of processes, we are testing this approach of working closely with community groups that serve those populations. For instance, returning citizens, low-income residents, immigrants, senior adults, people with disabilities.
Some of those are also city departments, though, also, like, not just nonprofits. Are you talking about like our City of Boston Office of Returning Citizens, or are you talking about some of the great nonprofits out there that are doing the work?
The nonprofits. So the idea is, because we want to test this model this first year, we are proactively thinking through what can be a group of 5-6 nonprofits that we can work for this first year. And moving forward, we want to test how that goes so we can open an application.
And when will we on the council have access to the group that you've already started communicating with?
As soon as next week, I would say, because we're now trying to get ready for July. So, yeah.
And last year, we did hold some virtual hearings for different neighborhoods. And then as an at-large city councilor, I went to many of the neighborhood ones, but also citywide. And shockingly, you would think that the only thing is that the city wanted was dog parks, right? So there are definitely groups of people who come out, and I'm a dog lover, do dogs at my house. But when you walked away from those meetings that we set up to make sure we had the voices of the city of Boston, then you would think if it's a voting process that all of this money would be going to dog parks, right, as an example. But if, like, how are we making sure that we're equitably, but also not just funding and having a checklist of, we already have organizations that fund many of these important things. Like, how are we making sure that this money is going to resources and needs that aren't already being met by the city budget?
Yeah, thank you for following up on that. Something that was developed by our office and adopted by our board last week was a set of equity guidelines that will ensure that projects that come out of this process benefit those who need it most in the city. So it's hard to tell the types of ideas that will come now because we haven't started yet, but we are building these guardrails to ensure.
How many members on the board?
9 members.
Are they paid members?
No.
And how many staff in your office with you?
3.
3, and it's a $2 million budget. How much of the $2 million is staff funding?
For FY24, $240,000.
Okay. And do we know yet, or has the board not decided? And can we get a list of the board members also,
course.
please? Or what percentage of the vote will be weighing in on the final decision for any projects or nonprofits that are decided to be funded?
Would you mind restating that question?
You said that once this process goes through, the residents will have the opportunity to go to the ballot.
Correct.
And you're envisioning that all different ways, online, at libraries, different ways. And once those votes are tallied and you have a sense of what they wanted, what the people who showed up wanted, which I said in some neighborhoods it could be, especially when this is not even a real election in the sense, we could see, less than 5% turnout in some neighborhoods. But how much of that vote is going to determine? Like, I think of the CPA guidelines that come before us. Can you compare this process to CPA, which I'm very familiar with?
Yeah.
And
So
those decisions that are like one-time projects, like a park at, the playgrounds redone at the Warren Prescott, or those ideas.
Yeah, so this will also be one-time projects similar to CPA. And the way the voting will work is that we will be able to award funding to the proposals that receive the most votes up to the funding cap we have for that year.
So it is based solely on the vote?
Correct. But before the proposals go into the ballot, they go through a process to ensure that they are feasible, and also working closely with city departments to make sure that whatever goes to the ballot are things that the city can actually do or fund.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Want to acknowledge that Council Weber has joined us. Councilor Santana, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. Nice to see you both, and thank you for being here. I think I want to stay right, I think even before I even start with my questions, I think this is something that's very important to me. As a former director of civic organizing, one of my first projects that I worked on, as Chief knows, was on this office and getting it off and running, so I'm glad to see it at this stage right now. Staying on the note of voting, are there any restrictions for who can vote? Like who can kids vote? And can you just kind of talk to me about any restrictions that people may have?
Sure. Thank you for that question. With the guidance of the board, they decided for the process that anyone in the city of Boston can submit a project idea. So there is no restrictions for submitting. For voting, the conversation was about age. So 11-year-olds and older or 6th grades and above will be able to vote for the proposals on the ballot. And this includes any Boston resident. Yeah.
So 11-year-olds or 6th grade or above.
Correct.
And then in terms of undocumented folks and residents here, are they allowed to participate in this?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then these decisions were made by the oversight board?
Correct. In consultation with the oversight board. Yeah.
Okay. So the consultation between you yourself as a director and the oversight board?
Correct. And also with input from the public and community groups.
Okay, great. Going over to the oversight board, can you just talk to me about the responsibility? I know you mentioned some of the responsibilities of the board. Can you just talk to me about kind of on an annual basis what is expected out of this board? And I know you talked about the different processes, but I just want to know how much how much control do they have? How much input do they have in terms of what we're producing out of this office?
Yeah. So their main role is to be thought partners, to oversee the process and to guide through each step of the way. They are a group of 9 Boston residents. They are serving for 2 years. So after 2 years, we'll have a new board. And they all have backgrounds in community development, community organizing, public finance. So they bring that experience into the process. So I would say we check in with them now in the planning phase every 2 weeks, and we bring important questions or considerations that they help us shape to get ready for the implementation. So it's an oversight board, very committed group of folks, great opinions, and they just been very helpful in helping us think through the process.
Great, thank you. Chief, a few questions about just kind of like financially, so there's $2 million, and I know you mentioned there was like $250,000 allocated right now towards staff. How much of those $2 million will be implemented specifically for projects this upcoming year?
Sure. Thank you for that question. So for the process that's going to start in July, well, just some background. So I think the city has been appropriating $2 million to this office since fiscal 22, I want to say. Last year, as part of the fiscal 24 budget process, and something that's unique to this office is that funds can roll forward from prior years. And so the mayor and the city council made a decision to carry forward funding from fiscal 23 into 24 because the office had not begun and that money had been appropriated but not spent. And so we started this fiscal year with a balance of about $4 million. The office is up and running. We've had some expenses, as Renato mentioned. There's also some one-time startup costs, implementation costs to get this process going. So some money has been spent. So for the process that will begin in July, we are anticipating that we will make $2 million available for projects. That is not the full balance that has been accumulated in that office. We anticipate that we'll be able to roll unspent funds forward, and that for the foreseeable future, we will be able to allocate $2 million towards projects with the assumption that the annual appropriation will remain the same.
Okay. No, great. Thank you. I have two more questions. So in terms of that, let's just say there's $2 million this year. The community decides that they want to fund our streets, right, and like potholes. And let's just say, for the sake of this, as all $2 million was voted for that. Would that take away from, like, let's say, Public Works, like, you know, you already got $2 million in fixing potholes. Now let's reallocate our Public Works budget to match that, or is it just kind of an addition to that? And I'm using Public Works as an example, but just in any type of a department.
Yeah.
Would it just be an additional, or would we try to, on the back end, do some fixing, for lack of a better term?
It is intended to be additive, and so net new on top of any money that's already allocated through the city budget for a particular activity.
Okay.
This would be additive.
Great. My final question is about, right now we're at currently $2 million, right? And I'm sure you all have received it. I know all my colleagues have received all the advocacy of getting this office up to 1%, equivalent to $40 million. What's the what has been the administration's response to advocates? In saying this. Is there a plan to increase this, or not necessarily just to $40 million next year, but is there a plan to increase this over the next few years? And is there a plan to ever get to potentially 1%? And let's just say, my final question on that, let's just say that $40 million was allocated this upcoming year to participatory budgeting. Director Casella, do you have the infrastructure to currently to hold that and to have that through the process? I just want to make sure, I don't think we've been in enough rooms where, like, the administration, the council, and advocates have all been in the same room, and I think we've all had many different conversations, or maybe not so different, but it's just good to have some clarity around that.
I'll start, and then I'll turn it over to Director. I think we, Renato's team, the board, and others involved in this process, we are very focused on making this first year work. We're going to learn a lot. There's going to be things that we do that don't work, some things that work really great that we want to do more of in the future years. So I think, we are very focused on the next 6 months and making sure that this is successful. And then in terms of, whether or not the office has the infrastructure to, if a $40 million infusion came in this year, like I said, I think we're very focused on making sure that the process is right, and that we get it set up so that if there are, decisions by future councils and mayors to increase the amount of money going into this office and this process, that we are set up to receive it and kind of faithfully execute the process with additional funds, if that's the decision of the city.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. I believe the funding we have now is a manageable amount to kick off this first year. As I mentioned, this is going to be a year for learning and testing our approach, and also to try to build a strong foundation for future cycles. With our current team capacity and also the timing to get things off the ground, I want to just ensure that we are responsibly using the funds that we have now to make sure we make the best out of it.
Great. Well, thank you, Chief, and thank you, Director Casella. Congratulations on the role. Really wishing this office well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Council Fitzgerald, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, panel, for being here this morning. So this is not taking effect this current budget, right?
So funds have been appropriated in the current year, fiscal 24, and also 25. The process is going to officially kick off in July, which will be the start of fiscal 25.
But so nothing from the outreach or anything will be amended into this current budget.
The fiscal 24 budget?
Yeah. So no, sorry. The budget coming up.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Anything that we learn through our outreach, will it be amended into the budget that will be
voted on? Sure.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
but we expect, right. So we expect that we'll be able to, as we're intaking that information, that will help us inform the fiscal 26 budget.
Understood. Thank you. You said there are 15 ideas that are voted on. Renato, nice to meet you. Sorry.
Nice to meet you, Councilor. Correct, 15 proposals.
15 proposals.
Yeah.
How do you get down to that 15? Because I know they're voted on from there, but you must get hundreds of ideas, thousands of ideas. How does it get down to the 15?
Right, great question. So first of all, I'll clarify the why the 15. That was a decision made with the board on how much information can a resident absorb in a ballot for voting. So if it was 20, it was probably overwhelming. If it was 10, probably too little. So we landed on 15 that will make it through the end of the process for voting. And we're going to be working with the city's data analytics team, and they will help us make sense of the data, because we're going to be looking at what are some of the themes, what are some of the priorities that residents are bringing from across the city, and we'll be able to determine what are the top 15 larger themes that we found this year. All of those 15 themes, what we're calling community priorities, will be brought back to residents with their original idea. So let's say if there is ideas about mental health supports for Boston youth, right? So that's the community priority we found. We'll bring that to residents to these visioning forums with all the associated ideas, and that will be a conversation with residents on what they would like to see on the ballot that will have the most impact in their communities.
So you actually get the ideas, then sort of workshop them into groups, larger themes, and then bring that back out to the community and refine them with the community there. And then that out of that process is what makes the actual ballot.
Correct.
Gotcha.
For the visioning forums, we'll have an online component as well. For those who cannot attend in-person forums, can also contribute ideas. So there will be a moment where we'll reconcile those thoughts and have a final ballot for January.
Gotcha. So we here as a council set aside money for departments, but we can't necessarily earmark it, right? If we have an idea, like Councilor Santana was talking about, for Public Works, and we say, I want to give Public Works, $5 million to do this thing. It's actually not for that. We have to work in conjunction with the director of Public Works and say, can you use it? And even if we give them the $5 million, they could say, well, I'm going to use it elsewhere. Correct? So in this, if whatever is voted upon, is that directly earmarked for the idea that is on the ballot, or does it just give that money to the department who can then actually decide what to use it for?
It all depends on the type of project that comes forth. For instance, if it's something related to infrastructure, let's say something can be like bike infrastructure. That's something that the city's transportation department will take on, right? And they also have other priorities, so very likely at some point they will be able to implement and create the infrastructure residents want to see. If the proposal is related to programs or services, what we are planning is to make either grants or contracts available for community groups to implement that work locally. So we'll kind of need to see the type of project and based on that determine what is the best way for implementation.
Okay, so I guess it depends the wording of what's on the ballot then, right? I mean, because some could be more specific than others. We want speed humps on these streets, and it's okay, Public Works, here's $5 million to do more speed humps. But it doesn't necessarily, might not make it to, speed humps. They might say, we already budget, we got another need here, and we'll use that money elsewhere. Or if you use it with community groups, so we'll put money aside for a certain idea and allow community groups to implement that idea? Is that what I understood you say?
Right, so following the idea of the speed humps, if that idea is voted by residents, if it made it through the ballot and it was voted as a top priority, we will work with the transportation department to make it happen. It may not happen immediately because they have other work that needs to happen.
Right.
But the idea is for that money to be allocated for that particular project.
Right. The idea, but again, we always have the idea as well as the council. My idea is to give this department this money for this idea, but it is not necessarily allocated towards said idea. I just want to know if this has a specific earmark or if it too follows the same rules as the council.
I understand your question. I think our intention is that, and the charter language that gave us this office and this process cites a binding voting process. And so our intention is to follow that as closely as we can. We also, as part of the process, are making sure that things that are going on the ballot are things that the city can implement, either legally, like it's happening on our property, or we have the capacity to do it. So we're trying to make sure that the things that are being voted on are things that we can, as a city,
Feasible
accomplish.
ideas. I get it. Well, but so here's the concern I have. I feel like, again, we can try and allocate millions of dollars. It seems that the process is easier for participatory budgeting to decide more directly than even the council, who's elected, right, to decide where money goes in the budget. Because I know I can put forth 1,000 amendments. They're only going to get shot down. And then I really have no effect on the budget. But it seems that if I were to put an idea forward, campaign around the idea, get it on the ballot, voted upon in the top 5, then it's earmarked specifically for that use. And that's almost more effective than being a city councilor.
I totally understand your perspective on this and understand the tension there. We, I think, are just trying to execute the charter measure as it was adopted as best we can.
But I guess that's my point. I feel like we're creating something more powerful than this own body that actually has more influence over the budget than we do. And my concern is soon people are going to say, let's make it 1% and let's make it $40 million. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, what do we, what effect do I have? And I don't mean, I like hearing from the people. Don't get me wrong. That's not my concern. Let's hear ideas. Let's understand. But this filter, I feel, just to me, it's like, well then, you guys don't need me. You just go ahead and campaign around your idea and you'll get what you want, right?
And I will say, council, you appropriate money to this process in this office, right? So you have the role of appropriating however much goes to this process. So you have a key role in this as well. But I understand the point you're making about the differences between the people who participate in this process and the new council powers.
Yeah, that's all. I have further questions about the outreach, but I respect the time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Mejia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Then enters Councilor Mejia, right on cue. The people's budget, which I believe, and I appreciate my colleague here really naming the fact of the matter is that this body has very limited powers. And I think that the notion of really understanding that taxpayers should have a role and a voice in how their money gets allocated should be one of the things that it's a good practice. Because there's very little accountability here. Even if we run for office every 2 years, when it comes down to the budget, at least what I've seen in the last few sessions, there is very limited power here. And I think that this is an opportunity to really expand on democracy and create as many opportunities for people to have a voice and a role and a vote. Literally, to hold us accountable to what we've been hearing out in these streets. And I think that that's where the tension is, and it's really figuring out how we make it work. Because it is a very different situation, depending on the term that you are governing under, depending on the appetite that people have for real transformative change. The council and our limited powers is always going to be dictated by who is in positions of power. So I think, given that I have seen this, I'm really excited. What I am concerned about, and I actually would love to hear a little bit more about, is this whole idea around the top issues. 15, I think is great. I hear my colleagues worried about who is, who are the loudest mouths, right? Usually those are the ones that get fed, and I understand that concept. But I'm going to assume that the organizations that are organizing and participating in this process are associated to issues, right, that are impacting the well-being of this community for example, housing, right? Issues of mental health. So can you just talk to me about kind of like the top issues that you've heard that have bubbled up to the top, and the role that community organizations have played in defining them?
Thank you, Councillor, for that question. We haven't gotten to that point yet. In July will be the time where we'll hear from residents and community groups about what their priorities are for their neighborhood, for their street, for the city. Right now, as we're building the process, we have not yet heard about specific priorities, as they will come from the ideas that residents will submit.
So I am confused by that, because I've been hearing from folks around mental health, the alternatives to 911. I've been hearing around more supports for youth jobs, housing. So I'm just curious, is that not part of the conversation?
So I believe groups have campaigns to push for initiatives or funding for specific programs. And I think one of the campaigns is for participatory budgeting. And I am certain that some of these ideas or concerns will come through the process. We'll hear those types of ideas. But because we haven't yet started the idea collection process, we haven't been able to see what are some of these things that are coming through. So I think in July will be the moment for that.
Because what I've been hearing is that they would like to increase the participatory budget line item so that there could be more funding for the things that community has been asking for, right?
That's correct.
So my question then is, what is the appetite to feed that desire?
I mean, what I would say is the concerns that many residents have about what you mentioned, mental health, housing, especially the mental health aspect, I think is very big, particularly among youth. My thinking is that once we open for the ideas, we'll hear some of those themes emerge.
So I'm specifically asking around the desire to allocate more money to the participatory budget line item.
Counselor, I'll take a stab at that if that's okay. So we appropriated just a little over $2 million for the office and the process in the budget that's pending before you all. I think, as we mentioned earlier, we are very focused on making sure that the process, this is going to be the first time we're doing it, making sure that the process is well set up. We're going to learn a lot. And if in the future, there is a desire from future mayors and councils to appropriate more money into this office and this process, that we're, filtering it through the best process possible. So I think the director and myself feel comfortable with the amount of resources that have been allocated in this year's budget, and we're just very focused on making sure that we're getting the process right.
Now, so if there was an opportunity to amend the charter, and any recommendations that you would have so that we can make it, work more efficiently?
I think ask us in 6 months, we might have more ideas once we've gone through this process the first time.
So can you just talk to us a little bit, for those who are paying attention, what is the difference between the alleged power that the council has and the participatory budget, just for the record?
Sure. I will take a stab. So the council newly, as of November 2021, has the ability to reallocate money within the bottom line budget that the mayor has proposed. So that is that new power that the council has.
And how does that interface with community?
The council's powers to amend the budget, how does that interface with community? Presumably you all are hearing from community members and making your decisions about where to reduce and what you want to add to. But that's a guess on kind of the process that you all are going through internally. And then in terms of the participatory budgeting office, this is an office that was established by charter to do a binding vote each year for ideas that come from residents. So related but different in the kind of technical powers that exist, but they both came, obviously, as you know, in the same charter measure.
So how, in terms of the voting, because I have 36 seconds left, you talked about the voting, so I'm happy to hear that young people will be able to vote, and residents, how are you, what's the infrastructure for that process?
For the voting, well, the first thing we have is the partnership with the public libraries, which is great. And the second one we are currently exploring, because voting will happen in January. We're in conversations with the Department of Information and Technology to think through what can be the best platform or avenue for residents to vote.
Yeah, and how can we make sure there's no duplicate voting, like?
That's all of the types of technical questions we'll need to go through to find the right system.
Thank you, I'll wait for the second round for my questions.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge that Council President Louis Jen and Councilor Coletta Zapata has also joined us. Councilor Braden, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for being here. This is very exciting. I have to say, I looked at your timeline for your rule book development. I have the rule book here. It's very well. It's easy to understand, and I appreciate, because we're all learning about this process as we go, even though we've put some thought into getting it established. But I really do think this is a huge opportunity to develop civic participation. If we start our young people starting at 11 years old who will understand, you vote on things, you make choices that have significant impacts in your community. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to expand civic engagement, and I do hope that it will lead to more engaged citizenry going forward, residents of Boston who are increase our participation in our civic decision making. So right now you had the rule book is done. You're planning for the implementation right now, and then you're going to roll out the idea collection, and you're anticipating you could anything from hundreds to thousands of ideas roll in. You're going to identify themes. One concern I have is, the youth participatory budgeting process that's been going on since 2014 tends to focus more on capital projects. I'm just, and that's well and good. With this process will open up to all sorts of ideas, not just capital projects.
Correct.
My concern is that with capital projects, sometimes even Community Preservation Act, CPA monies get allocated to a project, but depending on our project management and our facilities management processes don't always move the money fast. It hangs around, and sometimes the value, if it doesn't get spent in a timely way, the value goes down, with inflation. Some projects hang around in the system for years, much to my frustration if it's a school playground that we've all advocated for over the years. But I'm just, how do we address that? Like, we get great ideas. They're voted, 15 projects are voted for. Some of them are capital projects, and they just, how do we keep that process moving and actually spend that money in the year that it's supposed to be spent?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that's precisely why we envision having a step kind of between identifying the ballot measures and things going on the ballot that we kind of vet to ensure that they're feasible to implement. We want to make sure that the projects that get voted on can happen in a relatively quick timeline so that people see the kind of fruits of this process in real time. So, we're hopeful that things that are going on the ballot are things that can get off the ground quickly and not linger, like you're mentioning.
Mm-hmm. And I had a question as well about the rolling forward of, so if there's unspent funds and they roll forward, do they go into a special fund, or are they rolled into the general fund? Like, how do we ring fence that so that it doesn't disappear?
This is one of the only instances I can think of where it rolls into a special fund. So it's a separate special revenue account just for this purpose.
And do we need special legislation to authorize that fund, or is it?
That was part of the ordinance, I believe.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's all set.
It's all
for-
set up. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then, okay, the idea, I really like the idea of using the libraries as places where with some wonderful community libraries, and they do function like community centres. One question I have, like we're going to start, really kicking this off in July, idea collection. Do you have plans to, do you have a one-pager in multiple languages that we can send out to people, that we can share as elected officials with our communities to get those ideas, get the creative juices going and generate good ideas going forward?
Yes, we do. So two things that come to mind. One is what we're calling a toolkit that anyone in the city can download from our website, and there will be instructions or guidance on how to host a conversation, to brainstorm ideas and submit it to the website. So those ideas can be considered in the process, and this will be translated in multiple languages. And also, we're now working on a communications campaign, and as part of that, there will be some sort of like a one-page or flyer that will also be multilingual, that will guide people to our website so they can learn more and just give an overview of what participatory budgeting is. So we're thinking about multilingual materials and multiple channels for sharing that information.
Mm-hmm. And back to the issue about, my understanding is that the special fund has to be done by statute at the state level. Is that, like, not the ordinance can't establish a special fund?
I think we have everything we need to have that special fund in place. It's set up. Our city auditor has set it up. We rolled funds into it last year, and it's a choice at every year-end close if we want to roll money into it for that year-end process.
Okay. Back to the again, I'm entirely skeptical at this point about the capital fund, how we spend capital funds, because we appropriate, we authorize borrowing for capital projects every year, and we put the numbers on the page and we put projects beside it. But then when you look at how they progress through the system, and this is maybe a bigger conversation for another day, but just because we appropriate funds doesn't mean the things actually happen. So I think in terms of people's confidence in this community civic exercise and civic engagement, we need to make sure that the funds are actually spent, mm-hmm. and that we can see the results of our efforts. Otherwise, we'll just end up with a very cynical populace who go, oh, there we go, nothing happened.
Completely agree. I think it's really important to us that we're building trust, especially in the first year of this process, and obviously in every year thereafter. But again, we're really focused on making sure that things that get on the ballot are things that we can do and that we do actually do.
So in terms of monitoring, like this is the first go at it, and it's obviously a very steep. You're learning as you go. In terms of evaluating how well it's worked, what are your outcome measures and what are your objectives to try and figure out if this has been a success, or how do you plan on doing that?
We have contracted with an evaluation team that will be with us along the way to help us determine lessons learned and how to improve the process over time. We do have an evaluation plan that I can share with you. I don't know it by memory, but I can follow up with the specifics on what we're looking at measuring this first year.
Mm-hmm. Good. Time's up. I'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Weber, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the panelists. This is a fascinating issue, and so I had a couple questions. Let's see. So the rule book is done. Is there a process for amending it? When will we look back at the rule book? And who amends it?
Thank you, Councillor, for that question. This happens every year. So after each cycle is completed, there's a time for an assessing what went well, what things should be changed over time. So each year, in theory, the board and the office will review the rule book and make changes accordingly to lessons learned from the previous cycle.
Okay.
And just to clarify, the rule book can be amended by the majority vote of the board. So it's 9 members, so 5 members will need to vote to amend the rule book.
Okay. And so, I'm sorry, so I think it's in the budget, there's, it's a $1.75 million like special allocation. Is that the amount for that's going to be put up for this project?
Yeah, so of the just over 2 million that I think was appropriated for the entire department, you've got the operating costs and then the 1.75, like you mentioned, for the special allocation. We're planning to use that plus some money that has been rolled forward from the prior year to make sure that we have $2 million available for the process in July.
Okay. And are there any guidelines that you have for, keeping the fund going from one year to the next? Are you allowed to use all the money available, or what are the rules there?
Yeah, so we were very intentional in selecting that $2 million amount to ensure that there was going to be some stability from year to year. So, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have just about $4 million of a balance that we'll begin the year with. We're not going to use all of that because we want to make sure that as the costs for the office increase, we're assuming, just because it's the most conservative thing to do, a stable appropriation in each year's budget, but not wanting to have the amount available for projects be so volatile from year to year that if we assume we have a balance, we spend $2 million, we can kind of coast and kind of assume that amount for the next couple of years.
So, I mean, let's say if there was 20 million now, would you use 10 million?
Right, it's a choice because the money can roll over. So if there were more money, we could choose to allocate more to it. But again, just given what we know and sort of the appropriation that we have now and what we hope to see in the future, felt 2 million was the correct amount for stability.
And just a little more about who's making the decisions of what goes on the ballot, what goes up for a vote in January. So I guess, how does something go from a proposal to being in one of those 15?
Right. So it all starts with residents' ideas, and through that process, we as an office check for eligibility. We have a criteria for ideas, for project ideas. So the first filter will be making sure that the ideas proposed meet the criteria, and then we'll work with the data analytics team to identify these community priorities. And we go back to residents to discuss the priorities and the ideas, and they will help us determine what the ballot proposal should be like for the ballot. There is a middle point in between where we as an office and as a board will make sure and work with departments to ensure that whatever ideas come forth are feasible to implement and also have cost associated to them. So we know that they won't go over the amount of money that we have for that particular year. So I would say it's a collaboration between residents, the board, and the office in going from idea to proposal at the end.
But how does it, I mean, is the board voting, is the majority, how do you, let's say you got 40 ideas that meet all the criteria, how do you get it to 15 for January?
The 15 will come from analyzing the data that comes through in July. So out of all the ideas that we receive, we'll identify the top 15 priorities and we'll work with those priorities for the rest of the process.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, because I haven't seen the rule book. I apologize, but does the board vote on it? This is just it's like the Gestalt method. You're looking at them all 40 and you're just talking about it and picking out the top 15 or. Thank
you for that. Yes.
So, I was trying to just figure out how that's going to work. But and then is there a preference for projects that are citywide, or, how does that, because, I'm sure some projects are going to impact certain areas instead of others. How does that factor examine?
Thank you. So we are running a citywide process, right? So we do want residents to share ideas that they care about, and those may be very local or those can be citywide. The process of identifying the community priorities will be helpful for us to get a sense of what our residents care about the most citywide. So the 15 priorities, the 15 community priorities will be carried through the process, but the individual ideas that residents submit will be helpful for us as an office and as a city to better understand some of the priorities and needs that residents of the city have at large. So we have a dual purpose with our office. So one is the traditional PV process, which is residents submit ideas. There is a process for identifying the top, and there will be a ballot and voting. But the second purpose of our office is also get a sense of what are generally the priorities and needs of residents that can help inform future budget decisions for the city or city departments.
Okay, and so I had a question about, some projects will be administered by the city, some projects through contracts. Is there a preference for projects that will be administered by the city, and what can we do to make sure we're not, there's, dealing with a contracted, somebody who's pushing for a ballot measure for themselves, there's no financial interest. How do you deal with that issue?
So my thinking is we need to see what people care about and the priorities they want to move forward. So it will be, in that sense, up to residents to decide the types of projects. Something that will be helpful if it's a program or service is we'll be able to put the money out to implement the projects almost immediately, which is great. So that's the only difference. If it's something related to infrastructure, it may take a little bit more time just because it's, there may be other priorities that a department has. So that's kind of like the overall thought.
Okay, just watching the seconds tick away. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge that Council Fernandez Anderson has joined us. Council President Louis Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Worrell, and thank you to the administration for being here. I'm excited to really delve in and to see how we get this office built out. I know I wasn't on the council when this was a charter amendment that included participatory budgeting, but I know that there was support, as there was in the public, with only, I think, 2 no votes. And we on the council voted in support of this ordinance for this office. And so my questions really have to do with implementation at this round. With the section 5-1.11.5 talks about the composition, appointment, and term of the External Oversight Board. And it says the mayor will appoint 4 individuals to the Oversight Board from a pool of 8 applicants provided by the City Council. Can you identify which of the 4 on the External Oversight Board were recommendations from the City Council?
Thank you for that question, Councilor. I don't know it by memory, but I can get that to you.
Through the chair, can we please make sure that because that's a question that has been swirling around for quite some time, and I would love to know for the record which of the 4, and to have actually like a better understanding of how we even decide on the 8, the pool of 8. I think that's important for us. I think participatory budgeting, a lot of it is about making sure that people are involved in the decision-making in a very direct way. It's a form of direct democracy. That is not one that we invented here in the city of Boston. There are other jurisdictions that are doing it, and I think that it's a process that deserves as much transparency as possible if we are trying to build out this power. I have questions about this timeline, which is a very ambitious timeline. And not saying that it's not possible, but it does seem to be pretty ambitious for what we want to accomplish. If you could talk a little bit more about how will you be goal setting to make sure that, and I'm talking about this participatory budgeting phases, idea collection, which is happening very soon, how you're going to do that idea collection, ensure that it's one that is inclusive of everyone, and then out until April of next year. So if you could talk a little bit about how you're going to make sure that you are meeting each goal, that would be helpful.
Mm-hmm. So what we proposed, as you say, is ambitious but realistic. We are working to make sure that we have everything in place to have a very inclusive idea collection process. And you will see in the presentation and in the rulebook that we've outlined different channels for people to connect with our office. So every one of those channels, we're now actively trying to finalize them so they are ready before July kickoff. So for instance, the recording of a phone line that is multilingual, or the online portal is 95% ready, just last final details. We have secured the partnership with the public library, and we have the booths where people will be able to submit their ideas. And working with community partners to host these conversations is also something that we're actively working on. So it is a tight timeline, but we think it's achievable. And this is also part of the pilot year, right? We can see what modifications we may want to do in future cycles based on the outcomes of this first process.
And I wonder what impact this will, given that you tend to fund, the goal is to fund projects between February and April of next year, right? In April of next year, God willing, we'll be in the throes again of budget. How will you use what you learned? Like, will you have collected enough data to impact the budget line item for this office for next year?
I think if I can just jump in for a sec, I think what we will have is had gone through at least one cycle, as we're getting ready for the fiscal 26 budget process, that can help not just inform this office's budget, but just the budget as a whole, right? We'll have had the benefit of hearing from people, understand what sort of themes are emerging as part of that process. And the kind of two-pronged goal of this is that, yes, we will have this formal participatory budget process where people can vote on particular things, but we will have a benefit of getting a lot of information from the public about what they just want the city budget to reflect more generally.
Question for you regarding, I think Councilor Braden had started mentioning it, but it was about a special fund for PB rollover.
Yeah.
How does that look like when we really operate from on a fiscal year to fiscal year basis? And what gives you that legal authority? Yeah,
so the ordinance that established the office gives us the ability to create this special revenue fund for funds to roll over across fiscal years. Because you're right, normally if things are not spent at the end of the fiscal year, it kind of falls to the general fund, falls to fund balance. But the ordinance was written specifically in a way that we have the authority to, if we choose as part of year end, to allow any unspent funds to roll forward. And that could be both, practically speaking, like, we've allocated money to projects, they're taking multiple years to happen, and so we need those funds to carry forward. Or like we did last year, we just didn't spend the money, but we want to make sure that we are kind of building a balance to go towards.
And how much rolled over last year?
It was about $2 million, I want to say.
And the budget for the office right now is $2 million.
Just over 2, yeah.
So is that almost the entire budget allocation for the office is technically a rollover?
No, so we appropriated a new $2 million. So there's $2 million that was unspent from 23. Mm-hmm. We appropriated $2 million new in 24. Some of that's being spent, but they won't spend the entire amount by the end of this fiscal year. And then the fiscal 25 budget has another $2 million appropriated to it.
So how much are we really looking at when we're talking about fiscal year? What is available for fiscal year 24 to 25?
So for the office started fiscal 24 with a balance of about $4 million, because it was the $2 million that carried forward plus the $2 million that got appropriated. Again, some of that's being spent, so there will still be some balance. And then for fiscal 25, new $2 million, whatever unspent balance.
So maybe between 4 and 5 million, is that fair to say? Maybe a bit more?
Yeah, we can kind of show you the progression of kind of like how we're expecting funds to roll forward. But we're anticipating making $2 million available for projects in the process that will begin in July.
You said
$2 million, yeah.
But why that amount when there's probably going to be more in the,
right?
Why be so conservative with a process when there's been allocation after allocation after allocation?
It's a great question. So the costs of this office are going to continue to grow, over the years as costs of living adjustments, things like that. We're assuming that the office will continue to receive kind of like a level appropriation, but we want to make a kind of a stable amount of funding available for projects year after year. And so we chose $2 million for the process that's going to start in July, because kind of given the projected expenses of the office with the assumed stable annual appropriation, if we picked a larger number to make available in July, there would be quite a bit of volatility year over year when we do this process. So there could be, $3 million made available this year, but next year it would, drop down to 1, right? So if we do a $2 million allocation for projects,
But if you're talking about level funding, why would it go down to 1?
Because next year, for example, the office, I think the appropriation is just over $2 million. Mm-hmm. Some of that is for, more than, let's say, if you made $2 million available for projects, you wouldn't have enough money left over to fund the salaries of the office. Mm-hmm. So we need to kind of meter the balance that we're accumulating to ensure that we have a stable amount available for projects while continuing to fund the operations of the office.
Okay. Director Costello, I'd love to hear about what your vision is for the office in terms of what it would look like, what it looks like financially, to see the growth of the office, how much, what your vision is, if there's a vision, whether it's a 2, 3, 5-year vision for what the future of this office looks like when it comes to the money, funds that are available for community to decide on.
Initially, I'd love to see an office that has a proven process that can benefit residents and the city in the decisions for budget allocations for projects that are community-centered, but also an office that is able to help inform larger decisions for the city's budget. I think the decision on funding is a decision that has to be made jointly with the cabinet and the administration. As I mentioned earlier, I believe the money we have now is a manageable amount of money that we can, for the kickoff, for the first year that we're doing this process. If there's a decision to increase it in the future, I see the benefits of it, but I think I'm very focused on the process right now and to get really something solid for the future.
So no dollar amount in your vision for what the office should be?
At this point, I'm focusing on what we have now and doing a good process there.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I'll reserve the rest of my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Coletta Zapata, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chair Worrell. Thank you both for being here. Director Costello, it's been great to work with you and get a chance to see your leadership starting back in Moya. And so I'm happy to see you in this position. And I appreciate the conversation we had. We were curious to know what was going on before budget hearings. So a lot of the questions we did have been answered by you. And I just want to commend you for the rule book, which is incredibly comprehensive and wonderful. And it is a wonderful opportunity for folks in the community to become more involved, to learn about the process and not a patriarchal way, or I think I got that right, but and not a way that is diminutive, but in a way that empowers people. And I really appreciate the approach that you have taken throughout this process. Of course, I've gone back and tried to understand exactly what the timeline has been, and so going all the way back to the charter amendment and figuring out as it relates to the percentage of funds that have been allocated. I do remember in 2021, we had put in no less than 0.5%, and it had been changed multiple times. It was deemed unconstitutional by then Attorney General Healy. And so going back and trying to figure out what our options are about the percentage. And 1%, I hear about that all the time from organizations like New Bay, and folks want $40 million. And that really was the spirit of the charter amendment, to try to democratize the budget process and bring more folks in. And we also wanted as much money as possible to lessen the competition in the community. And so going back and looking at the committee report filed by then Chair Arroyo on February 8th, 2023, he had reviewed a legal opinion from Corporation Counsel explaining that a specific percentage from the city's budget cannot be allocated by ordinance because it would conflict with state finance laws. To your understanding, is that still something you all are upholding through Corporation Counsel?
Yes.
Okay, and that has to do with Chapter 44, Section 53, just for the record for folks that are listening in. is there, and then I also think that there was no amendment that was filed through that committee report either. And so I think I also tried to go back and look through what the regulations were for $2 million, and it just sounds like it's a decision being made by you all.
That's right. It's part of the annual appropriation. So, we could, with the council, pick a different number, but each year, it's subject to appropriation along with the rest of the budget.
Okay, and then in the last section, we do talk about fiscal accountability and all of that. I think that is an important component of this conversation, understanding that we are looking at a different economic landscape potentially. We're talking about tax classification. You and I have a meeting at 12 maybe to talk about it, but it is going to be a pretty volatile environment. So I do think that it's not a set stance that anybody should have. We should really take a look at what is happening in our budget and figure out what is our responsibility as a council to make sure that we are fiscally buoyant as a city. And so I do appreciate the fact that there is a component in the ordinance that this body actually didn't pass. It just went through because it wasn't acted on in 60 days last year. I think that's how it went. I was not here for that city council meeting, unfortunately, but to my understanding, that's what happened. But we do have the opportunity to potentially amend that, which I think is a fair point made by Councilor Mejia, but I want to do so in a way that is not going to be legally challenged either by the Attorney General or by Corporation Counsel. And the reason why I say that is because I do think that an amendment that didn't get in within the committee report had to do with grants for community-based partners and technical assistance. I think that you're going to need as much help as you can get because it is a city-wide initiative. And you have a lot on your hands in the next couple of months. You said the word ambitious, and it really is ambitious. And we want to be very intentional and thoughtful about how we move this process along, because if we don't get it right, then we stifle the voices of our residents. And so I do support, and I'm putting on the record, of potentially expanding this office, either through ordinance or through working with you, whatever the policy objective is, to provide grants for community-based partners and technical assistance partners. I think that's important. My question, sorry, that was a long ramble, and just letting my stance be known. Do you have any benchmarks of or goals for who we are involving in the process? Like, are we allowing for self-identification for demographics? How are we collecting that data? And I apologize if this was mentioned, but what are some of the goals that we have to involve the Latino community, folks who are veterans, seniors, youth? Do you have that information or those set benchmarks?
Yeah, so thank you for the questions and for the kind words. Yes, so we are working on a survey, a demographic survey it will be optional. So when people submit an idea online, they will be able to take the survey and self-identify in terms of race and income and gender, because we want to understand who is engaging with our process. But more importantly, we will have that same survey in-person workshops, and that's the data that I'm really interested in, is who we're engaging at the ground level in our partnership with community organizations. Online, the data that we'll collect from the online interaction will be helpful, but it won't tell the whole story, because there are certain people that like to take surveys more than others online. But for those who are in person, that will be a good measure of the people that we're engaging on the ground. Same thing with voting. So we're going to keep that in mind. We're developing the tools for the evaluation of the process. And something that we have stated is we want to understand who we are reaching out and who is missing from the conversation.
Okay, thank you for that. And do you have, I've been trying to figure out what cities and municipalities are doing this well. Do you have a model, an outreach model that you are striving to achieve? Is it New York City? Is it Toronto, I think?
Yeah, one of the references that we're using quite a lot is the New York City model that is citywide. And one of the key pieces we are getting inspired by that model is the partnership with community organizations to connect with residents. So that's something we're incorporating in a smaller scale for this first year that we're hoping to expand down the road.
Okay, thank you. And has there been any discussion about conflict of interest provisions or disclosure information? Like, how are you providing that? How are you making sure that there is no conflict of interest for organizations or individuals that are reaching out for funds? And what is the avenue for them to disclose that information?
So this may require a little bit more thought for the January moment when people are voting, but something that we are thinking is that all the applications that will, for implementing the process will need to go through an evaluation and we'll need to assess them. And if we identify a potential conflict of interest, we'll need to, as you mentioned, have some sort of a response to that. So I can, the guarantee is that the office and the board and all the meetings we host are open to the public. We'll be able to see the applications that come in for funding and make determination based on the populations that they are intending to serve and also the impact of the proposal in the community.
Thank you. That's it for questions. I just want to thank you all so much for your work on this. It's super important to the city. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Council Fernandez-Anderson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Morning. I apologize for being late. I had a previous meeting, and so I might have missed some details. So if I ask questions as they've already been answered, my apologies in advance. Mr. Costello, can you please give me list all board members for me on record?
Yes. So we have Betsy Cowan Neptune, Carla Stovall, Caroline De Paula, Esther Chong Weathers, Jared Wright, Jim Kennedy, Khalid Mustafa.
Sorry, Esther then?
Esther Chong Weathers, Jared Wright, Jim Kennedy, Khalid Mustafa, Lisa High, and Marilyn Foreman.
And then Khalid, and then after Khalid is who?
Can you say that again?
After Khalid is who?
Oh, Khalid Mustafa, Lisa High, spelled H-Y, and Marilyn Foreman.
Can you list their demographics for me? You know them all, right?
Yeah, I can follow up on that.
Can you list them for me?
I could follow up with you on the demographics.
You don't know them?
I know them. I will probably be making some assumptions as I list them, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, could you email us? Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I don't know any colleagues that, I mean, if anybody's here, correct me if I'm wrong, that actually got their recommendation in. So I think that's to go back to the question for Councilor Jen. So that poses a huge issue. Again, my colleagues here, if I'm wrong, correct me. And so you can see where the issue is with, the council and community in particularly feeling as though they're not being represented. I looked them up, by the way. I looked their demographics up, and it doesn't reflect. It's not equitable. It doesn't reflect. It's just like all of the IAGs and all of the boards in the city of Boston and all of the departments in the city of Boston. They're highly inequitable and not representative and not diverse. And so obviously we take an issue to that in terms of how is this supposed to represent the voice of Boston. And then the question that I have for you is, in terms of numbers, can you give me your budget so far for just annual budget?
For FY24?
Yeah, for your current FTEs and your facility amounts.
Yeah. So the total amount for
your overhead and personnel.
Mm-hmm. So the appropriation for FY24 was $2 million.
No.
Mm-hmm.
What's your budget?
My budget to...
Sorry, Mr. Costello, you're the director, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. What's your budget for the office? For FY24
Expenses. How much
Right.
of the $2 million are you spending?
It's
So
not
for-
listed here, so I just wanted to.
Right. So for staff and operations and implementation of the process for FY24 will be about $550,000, $600,000 for FY24.
Sorry, what's for the personnel?
For FY24, $240,000.
Thank you. And for facilities?
No facilities costs.
Let me see. I should have that. No, we don't have facilities costs.
You don't know what your rent costs? You don't have an office somewhere? There's no rent? You're not somewhere, you're here in the building?
Yes.
Okay.
8th floor.
Oh, no, don't answer me like I know. I'm asking these questions
Yes.
and hoping you can help me out. And so what's your contractual? Do you have any contractual amounts?
Yes. This is, so the way we are, the way we're looking at this is contracts for the cycle, the first cycle of the process. So I can share that information with you, but it goes around 450,000 for cycle 1 of the PV process.
So your budget is more than 550,000?
Our budget for the office,
You said it's 550,000 and 240 for personnel. But then you just said that your contractual, it just sounds like it's going way over 550.
right, because I'm giving the implementation cost of cycle 1, which covers FY24, and it will move into FY25.
Okay.
Right. So I'm giving you the costs of the office for FY25, but the contracts for cycle 1, which overlap to FY25.
Yeah, but in budget, in terms of budget, we need to see that separated, FY24, FY25, just so that we are really clear with community, like what are the numbers, what's going to be spent. You're doing the right thing, right? You're doing your job. Like we just want numbers because it needs to be transparent.
Yep.
And I think in the way it's just sort of convoluting the two FY fiscal years together. But I hear why you're saying it that way. In terms of your community organizations that are contracted, can you list them for me? Who are they?
Yeah, so we, thank you for that question. We did, this was asked moments ago, and we haven't defined yet the list of organizations that we're working with, but we are looking at organizations that directly serve low-income residents, immigrants in the city, people with disabilities, senior citizens. So we expect to have, at least in the next week or so, that we can share with you all, but there's no contracts in place yet.
Okay, thank you. In terms of your timeline, I guess the only issue that I take with it, and thank you for making it ambitious, is that your collecting of ideas or idea collection, the community part, is only 1 month. But then reviewing it, you give yourself 2 months. And then the visioning forms, so that community engagement process is 2 months. But then you're relying on the city department, community engagement, and some, I guess, contracted agency that you don't have yet to figure that out. And so far, there's like this issue with like inclusion and transparency. Your board itself, not very inclusive. So so the concern here is how will you do proper community engagement and that process itself if you're not allocating enough time, especially for people with like, lack of digital access or, issues accessing whether your phone or your web portal. 1 month seems short. And then when but you'll take 2 months to review it, but you're only giving people 1 month to give you ideas. And then in terms of visioning forums, online engagement, the 2 months seems to be very short considering what we've seen in the city with community engagement processes.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, so the time for idea collection, we've looked at a lot of models from other cities on what they've done. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Mostly it's about a month for idea collection. That's what our neighbors in Cambridge and Somerville do.
Like what they've done within their first year of executing? Right.
Somerville had their first cycle last year, and they did 1 month for idea collection. Okay. And Cambridge has been doing the same thing. So that answers that first part of the question, if you wouldn't mind if I didn't clarify anything else.
Oh, no, you looked at what you feel is best practices and you're simulating here. I'll wait till second round. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to my colleagues for some great questions. What's the cost? And I know we're running through this for the first time, but what's the anticipated cost to run an election?
So we have reserved about $20,000 for a system that would allow people to vote online. We are entering conversations with potential vendors in the next month or so to have a better sense of how much it will be. So I will have a better answer in the next few weeks, but so far that's the money we have reserved just to have something in the budget to hold it. Yep.
And then you mentioned having, sounds like, voting stations at the public libraries. Are these going to be, the librarians or your staff? Like, who's going to be?
So we've talked to the library, and they are happy to have a booth from our office, and they asked us to do some talking points or like a pamphlet that librarians can give to people as they come in, so they can learn about the process and submit their idea. One of the main things is that some libraries have different capacities. Some are smaller, some are bigger, but they, at a minimum, they'll have a booth and information for residents to engage with our process.
Got it. And then you spoke about organizations that you're going to contract with in terms of outreach. Dollar amount of the contracts that are going to be awarded. Within that contract, are you thinking about, what metrics, they have to hit in terms of like outreach, engagement, how many meetings they're supposed to have?
Yep.
And then how do you plan on making sure that you're reaching the whole city of Boston through these nonprofits? Like, how do you make sure that you're also equitably distributing contracts out?
Yeah, we have a scope of work for the organizations that I'll be happy to share that has all those details. So as a first year, it will be very, very ambitious to try to reach to everyone in the city. We are trying out this model and with the hopes of testing it and continue to expand and grow over time. So we're being very intentional about, the partners that we will work with and the methods of disseminating the information in terms of like multicultural marketing and communications. But it's something that as a first year, it will require a lot of education and people getting used to the process. Our neighbors in Cambridge have been doing this for the past 10 years, and they have very high engagement. So we hope to be in a similar place not too far from now.
Awesome. And then those nonprofits or organizations that you contract with in terms of engagement, are they then going to be disqualified, or are they still eligible to receive funding through participatory budgeting?
I wouldn't think so. Because the objective as described in the scope of work for these partners is to focus on ideas and creating a space for residents to brainstorm ideas of what they care about and they want to see in the city, and assisting those residents in submitting those ideas to the city. We are, as I mentioned, engaging with organizations or having conversations with groups that focus on different demographics. So we hope the ideas that come are really what residents want to see in their neighborhoods. But I don't think those who are engaged now will necessarily be disqualified, because also when applying for funds, this will be a, how do you call it? It will go through a competitive process to see what will be the best use of the funds.
And then are you going to be using a racial equity tool to measure the proposals? And then are those tools and the findings from those tools, will they be made public?
Right, so we, last week, the board adopted what we're calling equity guidelines for the process. And those guidelines will be helpful for residents and for the office as we go through the list of ideas to ensure that whatever comes out of the process serves those who need it the most. So because the guidelines were adopted last week, we are going to incorporate it into the rule book, and that should be available as soon as next week. So you'll be able to see what are some of the key, what are the goals, and what are some of the ways we're planning to operationalize equity into our process.
Got it. And then, like, if an idea comes and it goes through the equity tool, will that assessment be made public?
So there are different points, right? I think during idea collection, we're going to have in July is a very open process. We want as many ideas as possible because that will also help inform the city's future decisions about funding. That's the expectation. Another place where we'll use these equity guidelines is in what we're calling visioning forums. So as people discuss the ideas, they will be able to have this resource to determine, based on their lived experience, based on these equity recommendations, what ideas will have the most impact in their communities. And then the third place where we'll use the guidelines is at the moment where we are looking at awarding. The city has very strict guidelines on how to award grants and contracts, but we want to make sure that we have an equity lens also when we're looking at where the resources go. And this could be made via potentially income or other disparities that are impacting some communities more than others.
And then voting, because you just have January 2025. Is this one day? Is this multiple days? Is it the whole month? Can you just talk to me about what voting looks like?
Yes, we're envisioning the whole month for voting.
Okay. And then, one thing that I hear from colleagues and also have, sometimes trouble with is tracking, right? Whether it's our capital projects or, a new program that we're looking to stand up in the city. What are your thoughts, like, once we vote, once something has been funding, how does now the community, track that capital project, that program, to make sure that they're still part of it and it's, getting stood up here in the city of Boston?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So something that we're looking at as a way of a best practice that has happened in other municipalities is kind of like a dashboard online where people can see the projects that were awarded year after year, and they can see the process and the progress in each of the awarded projects. So for instance, if you see the City of Cambridge, they have a very nice website where they outline the projects that won and where they are in their implementation. So we expect to have a similar system.
Awesome. I love that idea. If we could establish that for our capital projects as well, that would be amazing. And then when it comes to other cities that do participatory budgeting, Boston, we're leaders, and I want to make sure that we're doing the best. But can you talk to me about where we're at in terms of, funding for our participatory budgeting office? Where do we rank? Are we top half, bottom half, in the mid, somewhere in the middle?
I think people. It depends on the local decision making and local conditions. For instance, our neighbors in Somerville, they use $1 million for capital projects for their first cycle. In Cambridge, they are in their 10th cycle, but for the previous 9, they've used $1 million only for capital projects. This last cycle, the 10th cycle, they added an extra $1 million for programs and services, so they are now at the $2 million. What I know from this the process in New York, they had, I believe it was $5 million for the whole 5 boroughs of the city, and those broke into so those further. So at the end of the day, like, each borough had something comparable to what we're doing for our city. I think it all depends on the individual municipalities, but as I mentioned earlier, I feel that the amount we have is something manageable for a first-year pilot.
Thank you. I'll go back to my council colleagues for a second round of questions, but I'm going to check with central staff first to see if we have any public testimony. No? All right. Council Flynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, thank you to the administration team. Can you,
Yes.
so the $2 million that's in the budget, how much money are you going to be able to allocate in terms of spending for nonprofits, for other projects? I was a little confused because you did mention at one time there might be it might be forwarded next year up to $4 million or $5 million. Can you explain how much money you're able to spend on different programs?
So the process that's going to begin in July, we're going to appropriate or allocate $2 million that will fund the proposals that get put on the ballot.
So our cap is 2 million for the proposals. Some of those proposals may be infrastructure projects that some city departments lead. Some of them may be grants or contracts that nonprofits can do the work of implementing.
So if there's a project, say, just as an example, job training, are you funding job training for the city of Boston, job training department, workforce development, or are you funding job training for a specific nonprofit that does it?
I'll start, and then you can fill in. I think it's going to depend on what the ballot measure actually says and what gets voted on. So I think there's going to be some things that the city does and we have the infrastructure to do, and so it would be things that we would be, as a city, providing resources to do. In other cases, it could be things that the city does not have the resources to do, and so we would need to contract with a nonprofit or some other provider to provide the service that gets voted on as part of the ballot. So it really depends.
But in that case, are you ensuring that we're not duplicating a function that the city of Boston is already doing, but we're giving funding to a nonprofit to do the same job? Are you factoring that in?
Yeah, I think we want to make sure we're being efficient, right? And so as part of that, vetting, for lack of a better term, of what's going to be put on the ballot, we're checking for feasibility, we're checking for the city's ability to implement and the best way to do it. So our intention is to be efficient and not, duplicative, but really to enhance, a service.
If a nonprofit is awarded a certain amount of money, but prior to that, are we doing our due diligence to ensure the nonprofit is in compliance with their requirements, that their nonprofit funding is spent appropriately? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that process.
Yeah, so as Director Costello said, any money that we're contracting out or granting out is going to go through the competitive process. We'll follow all state, 30B requirements to ensure that the funds are competitively bid and competitively awarded and, according to the RFP. We do diligence around making sure people are in good standing and, have, are able to receive city funds, and will follow the rules and regulations that are associated with that.
What about if a nonprofit is awarded or voted upon by the residents to allocate a certain dollar figure for that nonprofit, and the city is not in agreement? The city has questions that their accounting is not up to date. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the ballot will not allocate funds to a particular nonprofit. The ballot will just mention kind of thematically, using the example of job training, a desire by the residents to see job training for youth, for example. The ballot will not allocate funds to a particular nonprofit. That will be decided through, if we do go out and decide to contract, through a competitive RFP process.
Oh, then at that point, then the nonprofits would
apply.
For funds.
Yep, correct.
But would the nonprofits engage in the political process of getting out the vote in the traditional sense of election day stuff? Would they advocate for certain projects so that eventually down the road that they could possibly be awarded?
That may be the case, but there's no guarantee that they will necessarily get the funding, because we'll have to go through a competitive process. So, yeah.
A couple issues I do have, I do want to be honest about it, is 11-year-olds voting. I would not support that. I think it's too young for a person to vote on a significant amount of money for residents of Boston, taxpayer money. We're going to be either potentially raising classification on businesses or residents, taxpayer money. We're going to raise money. We're going to raise property taxes on somebody. But is it really necessary to have 11-year-olds voting on the economic stability of the city of Boston?
So I'm sure you have some comments, but I would say it's an exercise in democracy to get young people engaged in city processes. Another thought is that there is already a process led by another city department called Youth Lead the Change, which is a participatory budgeting just focused on youth. And we've been in close communication with Director Cruz, who leads that initiative. And it's just wonderful to see kids and youth being engaged in some of these decisions. So their process, I think, is between 12 to 22-year-olds. So we were trying to take that same reference.
I think times have changed now, and with the economic challenges we're having in this city, having 11-year-old kids voting on appropriating city funds, I do think we have to review that and reconsider that. That's my recommendation. Are we able to do that, or are you sticking with that 11-year-old age?
So it was a decision that was led by our board. And I could bring your comments, but I believe it's, given the amount of money also that we are talking about for the process, we see it as a way for young people to get engaged with the city and the civics.
I know, I understand that, but during economic difficult times, sometimes we have to change the rules, and having 11-year-old kids voting on the city budget, in my opinion, is not appropriate. It's a lot of money for young people to be deciding where taxpayer money is going. I just don't support that. I just want to be on the record that I'm against that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Fitzgerald, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, panel. Just kind of starting off where I left off last time. I think it would be an effective tool if this council used sort of the way the participatory budget would go. I would love if all the councilors could put forth one idea each, have 13 ideas, and then we all vote on all 13 ideas, and the top 5 go into the budget and are veto-proof. I think that's an interesting way to do it, and I mean that no tongue-in-cheek. I mean that sort of feels like, well, that's democracy deciding what the budget will do, and at least we know that we get something out of it that's real and that would be contingent. But I'll go to the outreach and how you're doing that, because in my history here with the city, I've done a lot of the community meetings, a lot of outreach. Imagine Boston, the citywide master plan, right? All we had to do was, it was strictly upon me to push that out. And so who is doing the outreach and what experience do they have? Because it takes a lot to learn how to do proper outreach, reach everybody, and all the methods that they have. So who's doing it? What experience do they have in community outreach?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. For this pilot year, one of the strategies we're using is working with community organizations to be an extension of our office out in the community.
Who picks those community organizations?
For this pilot year, depending on their capacity to engage, we are leading that conversation, and we pick them in consultation with our board. So that's the strategy. We know that we may not be able to get to every resident in this first pilot, but it's an exercise in building the capacity over time. We're a team of 3, so we really rely on partnerships to make this happen. And we are excited to see the outcomes of that approach and see how hopefully we can expand it or continue next year's.
Thank you. And so the 3 people on staff, are they part of the? So you're leaning on more of cooperation with sort of outside folks to do the community outreach. It's not that you would have a community organizer as part of the staff. Like what are the titles of the 3 staff members you have?
Right. So right now we have a chief of staff and a contracts and finance manager in the office, and the director.
Right. Oh, so 1 contracts and 1. contracts and finance are 2 or 1 position?
It's a one position.
So
person.
contracts and finance, the chief of staff and yourself?
Correct.
And those are the 3 people?
Yeah.
Gotcha, understood, thank you. Something with the voting, how do, I know Council Mejia, I believe, asked us, how do you ensure that the voting is not tampered with? Because that's obviously a concern too. Or getting people to, to Council Flynn's point with 11-year-olds voting, does it behoove families with more children that they have, right? And they can sort of get ahead, you can kind of say, hey, everyone, we're going to do this way, and this house gets 6 votes versus another house that gets 2 or something like that. But besides that, both electronically and, I guess, societally, the voting.
Right. So we share the same concern, and it's something that we'll engage in conversation with different vendors. I know, for instance, in Cambridge, they have like a validation via text message, which is one measure to try to avoid people voting multiple times. If we have the ballot boxes at libraries, we will ask librarians to make sure that people are not voting multiple times. It's going to be difficult to put together an infallible process.
Sure.
Yeah, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, I feel like it should almost follow whatever the elections department does now in terms of how they set it up to make sure that there's less tampering, right, to go through. I think to ask librarians to make sure someone votes twice, like, that's not going to fly, right?
I mean, I think it's a balance, right? We want to make it accessible as possible,
Yeah.
right? But you also want to ensure integrity in the process as well. So I think, we're going to learn a lot this year and make adjustments as needed. But, I think we're hopeful that there's, inherent integrity in in the people of Boston who are going to be participating.
Thank you. Finally, I know back to the nonprofit funding nonprofits or giving money to nonprofits that will then sort of decide how to do some of this, the ideas that could be voted on. I thought because I know in my own district, we've cut back on sort of traditional city-funded programming that is not a city program. And they say that is actually illegal to do now, to give nonprofits the city money, right? And so I think to Councilor Coletta Zapata's point about, I have to do more homework on the points she brought up of what the ordinance said and everything. But so is that essentially the same thing where in some places we're scaling back giving to nonprofits? Because sometimes there's a nonprofit that might run out of a community center, like a BCYF community center, right? And typically we would maybe give the BCYF, hey, here's $30,000 and you can give that to the nonprofit that is located in your community center. But we're pulling back on that because I've heard that from those exact instances of saying, oh, we no longer are allowed to do that because liability and other things, it is not, we can't do that. But it seems here we will be doing that.
Yeah.
Right? So tell me why and where that those differences can and cannot occur.
I think there's a distinction to be made about giving city funds to nonprofits just to fund their operations versus giving money to a nonprofit to, perform a service for the city. So some of the nonprofits that the office is considering contracting with, that would be for them to provide the service of community outreach that, Renato and his team cannot do on their own, right? So we're paying the nonprofit for a service versus what I think you're talking about, and some of the, the tricky legal stuff that we run into sometimes is just giving a nonprofit money to fund their operations.
Okay. So I guess that's the point about making sure that the money that we are giving to that we contract with nonprofits, that it is accounted for and how they spend it and not to run their operations per se.
Correct.
Okay. No, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
I learned a lot today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Mejia, the floor is yours.
Chair. Thank you. All right, so I kind of want to go back. I always talk about the fact that my daughter now is 14, and when she was 11 knew more about politics than most adults, but I understand the concern. And so I'd love to talk a little bit about what it would look like to build the infrastructure in which we're engaging younger people in the city of Boston, because I know that the participatory budget, the mayor, the youth had a budget line item that they used to work with in the past, right?
The youth lead the change, is that what
Right.
you're thinking of? Yeah, that still exists too.
Right.
Yeah.
So just curious, kind of like what infrastructure, what opportunities exist to continue to build within that arena?
Thank you for that question. We've been in conversation with the Office of Youth Engagement and Advancement and try to find synergies and spaces for collaboration. They do run a different timeline because they work with mostly youth who are in BPS. So I think it's a matter of assessing how this process went this first time and then continue to expand our outreach efforts to reach to more of those populations. We are being very thoughtful and mindful of maybe initially in a more smaller scale, but still thoughtful, try to do it this year, and the hope is to expand over time.
Yes, thank you for that. I guess what I am hoping to see is for us to seize this moment to really teach young people around civic engagement, and if there's ways, maybe potentially they may not be able to, like, I hear my colleagues' concerns around people's capacity. We try to lower the voting age for 16 to 17-year-olds to be able to vote. So maybe as you're continuing to flesh this out, is really looking at kind of different tiers for engagement. So something to consider. Not that I want to dilute any voting powers for anyone, but just want to say, Director, that there's different ways for us to get to where we need to be. So just wanted to name that. And I want to also uplift that I am concerned about the limited engagement. And while I appreciate that Cambridge and Somerville, I believe you mentioned, have utilized a month, I do believe that we're very different than Cambridge and Somerville. In fact, I believe that this municipality has the highest number of residents, right? I think we have a higher population. And I also think the demographics of our population is different as well in terms of language access, in terms of folks. We're already having a hard time getting people to participate in general, just normal elections. So I just think that in order for us to really maintain the integrity of this process, I would just urge you all to consider your timeline so that we can have a process in which folks can really feel like they have been heard. And you've mentioned 3 positions. So who's doing your outreach? Because I didn't hear that. It's compliance and finance. And
yeah, so chief of staff, a finance and contracts manager, and my role. So the way we envision the community engagement, given the size of our team, is to build those intentional partnerships with community groups for this first year.
Are those community groups going to get paid?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And that's the conversation in terms of the engagement. So they'll be participating in the community engagement process. These organizations are trusted organizations that are deeply rooted in community, and they'll help you disseminate information. And when it comes to the campaign part of it, these same organizations will be working alongside the city around the issues that have bubbled up to the top and the things that we're going to vote on.
Yes, so the idea is for exactly the community groups to kind of work with us along the process to make sure that we're reaching out to the populations that face higher barriers to participation.
So let's talk about those folks who are, because I know one of my previous colleagues here on the council worked on allowing non-U.S. citizens the right to vote in municipal elections. And I'm curious about how are you going to how we're going to make sure that people actually live in the city of Boston. What infrastructure are we thinking about in terms of making sure, regardless of your status, how are we creating an environment where people feel safe and comfortable in voting?
Yeah, we in our process we don't ask for any immigration status question, not for idea collection or for voting, and we do ask people to self-identify or just add their neighborhood or zip code. It's a way for us to know that they are residents of the city.
And how are we going to verify that? Because what I'm worried about is people from other municipalities voting on things that impact Bostonians, which people already have a lot of opinions about what we should be doing, but I'm curious how we're going to, protect the integrity of the process and making sure that is people who have the most to lose or benefit from this process that are the ones that are going to be able to vote.
Yeah. I'll just say one thing on that, and I share your concern, and it's something that we've been thinking about, and as the chief mentioned earlier, is a little bit of a balance between allowing people to engage easily and putting too many restrictions to really verify that everybody lives in the city. So we're trying to be mindful of, the more questions we ask, the more difficult it is for some residents to engage with the process. Yep. So especially for voting, we do want to do the verification. For idea collection, is more like self-identifying as a Boston resident.
So what I'm trying to making sure that we are all thinking through all of this is that what I have seen is that the loudest voices usually are the ones that get to eat. And so I'm curious about how we're going to get ahead of that, because in our communities, we already have a low voter turnout, right? In our communities, we don't believe in government. So how is your 3-person team grappling with that in terms of making sure that we have a full participatory budget process in which those who are most vulnerable and who have the least resources are going to be heard?
Yeah. Some of the things that come to mind is this intentional outreach and partnership with the groups that serve those populations. We also recently completed these equity guidelines that will help us ensure that as we continue in the process, the proposals that will make it to the end are those that benefit residents who need it most. So, and the reliance on community partners, and also the board has been extremely helpful in helping us think about all these considerations in terms of equity and making sure that funds are used in the most efficient way to impact those who need it most.
Thank you. My time is up.
Thank you. Councilor Braden, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to come back again to the special funds, because I know we have participatory budgeting in the youth lead, the change projects. 12-year-olds, yes, they do vote and they make very good decisions for $1 million. But all of those projects are capital, so it comes out of an encumbered debt. We don't have to, it's something we encumber the debt, and then we fund capital projects out of that without any further oversight from the City Council. This is the Division of Local Services, the Department of Revenue, the Bureau of Municipal Finance at the state, said that the revenue, a fundamental principle of municipal finance in Massachusetts is that all revenue received or collected from any source by a city, town or district department or official belongs to the general fund and can be spent for any lawful purpose only after appropriation by the legislative body. And that's General Laws, Chapter 44, Paragraph 53. No revenues can be segregated from the general fund into a separate fund to be reserved for specific purposes or spent without appropriation unless expressly authorised by statute. general law or session act. So that we do linkage, which we fund the Neighbourhood Housing Trust and then the Neighbourhood Jobs Trust out of that. That is approved by general law. And then we also, the Community Preservation Act is another example of what we do it's approved at the state level by general law C44B. Then the other one, like special revenue funds, by definition, are particular revenues segregated from the general fund into a separate fund and earmarked for expenditure for specific purposes by statute. Each special fund revenue funds may be classified or categorized based on the availability of the funds for expenditure and the need for a prior appropriation. Special revenue funds include annual revenue funds, receipts reserved for appropriation, and revolving funds. They may also include gifts and grants from government entities and private individuals and organisations. Special revenue funds must be established by statute. So I'm going like we're talking about putting, and I think we didn't have to deal with this when it was a capital project, but if we're going to put money into programmatics and operational earmarks for those sort of things, I feel that we don't really have authorization to do that in my understanding of what the rules are.
I'd be happy to follow up with you kind of in our interpretation of how we see we have the authority to do that, but our city auditor has concluded that we do, and the legislation was intentionally written to allow us to do that. So happy to follow up with you on kind of our understanding of how we're allowed to do that, if that would be helpful.
So, in the ordinance itself about participatory budgeting, it's fairly clear, but there's a little contradiction about our role as a city council. Participatory budgeting proposals should be limited to one-time, non-recurring programs, shall not include the creation of new permanent positions, must be feasible to implement and shall be implemented by the appropriate city department or agency with the jurisdiction of the project being proposed. Proposals shall require multi-year funding may make payments to a special revolving revenue fund and can accept and expend additional grant funds as they are awarded. So the accept and expend piece, that's when they have to come to City Council for approval. As participatory budgeting proposals should include estimates for implementation and be provided by the Board of Directors in a timeframe that aligns with the city's regular budget process and is subject to appropriation. And then back down at the bottom of the ordinance, it said fiscal accountability. The office's annual operating budget is subject to annual appropriations and should include funding for the administration of the office, the participatory budgeting process, and funding for projects that are proposed by the Board of Directors based on the results of the participating budgeting process. So far so good. The funds projects should be limited to one-time, non-recurring programs and should not include the creation of any new permanent positions. The office shall make payments to support multi-year projects in a special revenue fund and can accept and expend, again, additional grant funds as they are awarded. So again, that's the Office of Participatory Budgeting has given itself the power to accept and expend, and that's not their purview. That's the purview of the city council. So again, I'm a little confused. I think in the context of the youth lead the change participatory budgeting process. All of the projects are capital funds that we encumber, so we don't have to have those extra steps for appropriation and accepting and expending. That's my understanding. I'm just trying to get my head around how we can manage those two different threads.
And the accept and expend language, I believe, was written in sort of with the thought that we might receive grant, an external organization might want to grant funds into this process for us. So that was the intent behind that language, in the event that some external funder wanted to enhance the amount of money available for this process through an external gift. So that's why we included that language. But
then we'd still need a special revenue fund for that.
Yeah. So I think I would venture to say all of our grants are put into kind of a special grant fund and segregated off. So this would,
But then they come to City Council for approval.
That's correct. Yep, you have to accept them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little concerned that we're not doing due diligence on the legalities of these funds and where the special revenue funds are being set up without not being established by statute, because I don't know that our ordinance actually will carry it. As I said earlier, I don't agree with my colleagues. I really do feel, and back to the issue of youth participation, I think the youth Lead for Change project has been going for 10 years now. I think it's been very successful. I think it's a wonderful way to get our young people engaged in the civic process and civically engaged, and to understand how government works and how their voice is important. So lowering the age to 11 years, I don't know if they're doing it at 12. I don't know that there's a problem with the 11-year-old 11-year-old target age to participate. Again, I think I do think the timeline is pretty steep for awarding projects. Reviewing, assessing, filtering out, deciding which projects are going to go forward, and then expediting them. As I have a big long list of in the regular appropriations for capital projects, I have projects here in this the Office of Emergency Management, for capital budget projections. There's a project that's been in the books for 10 years and hasn't advanced, and there's been money appropriated. So I really, want to make sure that our departments are able to deliver on a timely delivery of getting these projects executed, so that we, again, as I said, we don't end up with people just frustrated and cynical about the whole process. And transparency is incredibly important, so we understand how the decisions have been made. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Council President Luigi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilor Rowell. I have a question about how staffing and resource allocation for this office compares to the Community Preservation Office of Responsible CPA. Are there lessons and efficiencies? I know that you're in your nascency. There's still a lot of development, but have you looked at sort of what to learn from CPA and how they function?
I met with the director of the CPA office a couple of times to learn about their process, because there were a few similarities. But I'm working based on the current needs that I see as a department, and also the funding that we had for FY24. So one of the things we're going to looking at is what are we learning from this first year, and what do we need to have ready in terms of internal capacity to run this process effectively moving forward. So I'm in close conversations, but they obviously have been around for a little longer time, and the goal is to be in a similar place in a few years.
Have you thought about, because the CPA is funded via a surcharge on property taxes, have you thought about potentially what alternative source of funding for a participatory budgeting could look like outside of the operating budget? Maybe. I mean, if you haven't, it's fine. Just
not at this time. Yeah.
CFO, have you thought about it? Okay. I think Councilor Coletta asked a question, and Councilor Rowell followed up with it that I always like asking, and I have questions out hopefully to you as Chief Grafenberger around the commercial property taxes and sort of comparison to what other cities are doing. But I like, Director, that you stated that we're really looking to New York as a model, because I think that we should always look to what other cities are doing. Are there other places that we are relying on that we think have good models that we want to build out?
I think Cambridge has done a great work. They've been consistent in their outreach, and we've also met with them. A lot of lessons learned from their team. They came to visit us and a couple of times, so it's been great. Been in conversations with people in in Illinois, like really like many places, and support networks about participatory budgeting. So I believe we've incorporated many best practices into what we're proposing, and again, it's all based also on local considerations. So I'm excited to see how the process unfolds and then continue to improve upon what we do.
Thank you. What would you say are your biggest challenges or your worries as you roll out this pilot program, or as that goes? Like, what are the things that like, hopefully they're not keeping you up, but that make you, that are concerns for you as you want this to be a success?
Thank you for that question. I think there are, as a first time, there are many uncertainties on some of the things we are proposing. I believe we propose something that is achievable, but we will also, in some cases, learn as we go. I am confident that we can keep with the timeline, and hopefully there's no delays in the things that we're planning to do, and we're working very hard in these next couple of months to try to get everything in place for that. Okay.
And then I think that with a lot of this, the devil is going to be in the details. How do you make changes to the rule book?
That process, as stipulated in the ordinance, is in consultation and majority approval of the board.
Of the board,
yeah.
Okay. And then I think a lot of my colleagues have asked about this. I think, and can you tell your background? Your service to the city has been in Moya. What were you doing when you were in Moya? I'm just trying to get an understanding of your background in terms of like community engagement, your background, and making sure that, we are always representing the folks who have been marginalized by our systems and hurt by our systems. So when I think about whose voices I want to make sure are centered, I really do think we're talking about immigrant communities, we're talking about formerly incarcerated, currently incarcerated, we're talking about all of our residents who have been denied of having a voice in our, in our budgeting process. I'm talking about people who are renters. Yeah. All those people who occupy are the majority of the city of Boston. So I want to sort of understand sort of your sensitivity to that charge.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. I'm an immigrant from Ecuador. I came to the U.S. in 2009 with very basic English. I would say my first entry to a job was part-time as a community organizer. I was in Idaho back then for a nonprofit that worked with immigrant farm workers in the state. Mm-hmm. So a lot of house visits, understanding people's challenges, and as someone who came from outside the U.S., learning people's realities from what you see from abroad, right? You see a lot of TV shows and a lot of wealth, and realizing the other side that many people experience in this country as people of color, immigrants, and just very, very poor people that I saw in the state of Idaho. And then I came to Massachusetts for a job for the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition, also as an organizer. I was involved in the many years that took to pass the driver's license bill. I was involved in some of those efforts back in the day. And then I worked as a community engagement manager at the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, working actively to try to bring more voices into municipalities' public processes. So that was a great learning experience. I was there for 4 years. I'll just say at Moya, not to give you my whole resume, but at Moya, my work started as an immigrant integration manager. That was my official title. And I worked in starting workforce training programs and work readiness programs for immigrant youth, mental health support for immigrants, and also supporting immigrant professionals who come with credentials to this country, but they cannot enter a job market because of any restrictions that they have. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit of my background. I've been always working, especially focused in the immigrant community, but I've had experience working with different populations.
Thank you. And I think that's a good background to start here. I think that so many of our communities, Black and Brown communities, so many folks who, I also want to uplift groups of people, and they often aren't considered, but when you're getting feedback, folks who can't read or write, right? They are an important part too of our city, and of making sure that we're able to get feedback from them about what we want the future of our city to look like. So wanted to elevate that. You know, I want to just reiterate what I think is really important about this office as it continues to grow, and it's pretty nascent, but transparency for this office is going to be and is critical, as it is at its root about returning government to the people in a very direct way. And so we need to make sure that all of our processes are transparent, including how people got onto the board, the oversight board, external oversight board, the role of this council in appointing people on that board in that list. So I just want to, again, re-emphasize through the chair that we were able to get that breakdown. It is really, really, really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Coletta Zapata, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. I just have one question. I had talked about the fact that we wanted to expand the pot of money for the community-based partners and technical assistance. It sounds like you're already working with community groups to get paid. How much per each organization?
So I will be able to give all the details in the scope of work. In consultation with some of the groups, we will be offering $2,500 per meeting. So we're asking organizations to host these community spaces for brainstorming, and these funds will allow for covering any staff costs in recruiting and following up with residents and providing accessibility in terms of childcare, translation, refreshments. So we believe that's a good amount to host a meeting in a way that respects the work that the groups have done in the community and also benefits our office. So that's, if they are hosting something online, that fee is reduced, but that's the starting point for this pilot year.
Okay, and will the organizations be getting that up front, or will they have to be reimbursed for their costs?
That's, I still need to check on that. I know that we are doing contracts, and I think with contracts, there are some rules that apply to how we disperse the funding, but I can get back to you on the specifics of that.
Okay, great. And with the contracting, they would have to abide by certain procurement laws and all of that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it for me, Chair. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Renato, I wonder if we can talk a little bit about the dashboard for transparent communication you spoke of in terms of measuring or implementing metrics to measure progress. Are you saying that's an idea, or have you started to work on that already?
That's the plan, but we're not there yet.
And there were talks about looking at other cities in terms of equity guidelines. Also, are there actual data or things you've looked at, or you mentioned something about using guidelines? Where did you get them from? And where
Yes. Yeah, this was something that came up through our board meetings by the board and by the public to ensure that the process benefits those who need it most. And our office took almost a month in doing research on what has been done in other municipalities and also within the city of Boston to come up with a set of guidelines for our process. And this is something that I can share with you. This was recently adopted last week by our board.
Thank you. I can appreciate that you're thinking, ahead of time in terms of how do you actually communicate, or how are you going to be transparent about monitoring your own progress. Obviously, these will be policies that will guide your practices or protocols within your office. And can you list the positions? And I'm sorry that I don't have them in front of me. The positions in your office at 3 FTEs that you have.
Yes. So a chief of staff, a finance and contracts manager, and me as the director.
Sorry, you said finance?
Finance and contracts manager, that's one position.
And the other one?
Chief of staff and director.
Oh, and you, okay. Thank you. And so, so far, no policy person, per se, to work on this collecting of equity guidelines?
So this role was, this work was done by the chief of staff this past month in looking at in close collaboration with the equity cabinet.
I see.
Yeah.
So we've actually gone through budget process with the equity cabinet, and they don't have that process either. They don't have those guidelines. So I think in our conversations with Dr. Jakutu from Public Health, what I was suggesting was that there be some sort of extraction of data from the Boston Public Health Commission. I know that Black Men and Boys are collecting some, and that's under equity, but they don't have it yet. Embrace has done a report, and there are others, right? So universities have done it, right? I know the Boston Foundation, Boston Globe did something small on income. But there needs to be some sort of like comprehensive collection of data to extract it where you can get it, and then to be able to do a full analysis on what equity would look like in the city of Boston. I do believe that the connection is with PB. PB should be the pot where those policies drive the monies into, right? So your office would have would focus solely on following protocols based on, but I don't know if your office is where that work lives or should live, but I really applaud you for thinking about already, okay, well, how do we connect to the problem or solutions if we don't have policies that guide us based on equity? So I think that's very commendable on your part to thinking ahead. It's taken departments, it's a lot of work. Everybody's busy, right? And so, but this collaboration from Boston Public Health Commission to equity to your office to be able to Moya, right? Another one, because there are two things happening. There's the reparations RFP out, and then there's or studies being done, and then there's and then I've recently been talking to Moya about specifically the study on the need for Afro immigrants specifically, and so those two demographics, right? Like those two populations or sections should then drive the policies, and with all of this data compiling. And I know that UMass has a department that I've been talking to, and if we can create a contract where UMass or university can take it on, we contract out, and to actually bring together the comprehensive plan to reducing poverty. There is a company called, it's not, I think it might be like Rise or something like that. I'll look it up for you. Dr. Omorala, she came from Harvard, and she actually has a company that Somerville used. And so Somerville then implemented or contracted this third-party company, and that's how they drove or informed their PB. And they actually have such high numbers in curbing poverty, which was like 60% within 1 year, because they use these very things that you're talking about. They exist. Companies already exist, and I'm happy to share with you some of those resources. And I think from here, it's just inviting you to work closely with my office to be able to say, like, here are some resources that I have, but also here's some work that we've already done in terms of equity, specific to my district, but to District 7. But I think it could set precedents to hopefully expand on what you're already doing.
Thank you, Councillor. That sounds great. I'd love to see any resources you may have.
I thank you so much for taking the bull by the horn. I think the contention here from community is, one, representation has nothing to do with you on the board, and we need to work on that across the board, like with the city. No pun intended. And also, secondly, that, there's a need for us to have, sufficient funds, because community has studies and practices, they're experts, they've organized, and they're ready to give you ideas. They're ready to, make these contracts accessible. So again, nothing to do with you. Coming from, the budget, figuring out, is PB ready to be able to handle what community is advocating for, $40 million. And if that's not the case, what's the more moderate amount? Where are we? And then looking at your timeline, it sounds like not until next month where you'll actually start collecting ideas. So, yeah, just really interested in conversations with you offline. Thank you so much for your service, your work, your dedication to this. This is extremely important to Councilor Lujan's point. And everyone here is like highly interested in monitoring it. So the closer we work together, I think, the better partnership we make.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Wow, look at that.
Yeah, right on time. Just to gain clarity on the process, and I know we said it a few times. So the ideas come in, we go to the chiefs of the cabinets or the commissioners of the cabinet to see if they can be implemented. They get on the ballot, they get voted on, and then is the top 5 then get presented to the mayor to get implemented? How does that work?
Right. So at that point, once residents vote on their top 5, we'll be able to fund up to our cap for that year. So it may be that it's 6 or 7 ideas, it may be that it's 4, depending on the cost of each of the ideas. And residents will make that decision when they vote. But as the chief mentioned earlier, the voting process is binding, is how it's called. So the ideas that get on the ballot will have been discussed with city departments to make sure that they are feasible to implement and meet all the guidelines. But at that point, once they are voted, then we will determine which the right implementation approach for each one of them. As I mentioned, some of them may be related to infrastructure, some of them may be programs and services. So we'll make that determination once we know which are the winning ideas.
All right, and I think, that's all my questions. And I do agree with my colleagues on, making sure that this is, a robust process. The more public hearings, the more public meetings, the more engagement we can have, the better. I think, participatory budget will be to live up to what we're looking to actually achieve through this process and exercise. Now I'll turn to public testimony. When your name is called, please come down to one of the 2 podiums and state your name, neighborhood, and/or organization affiliation. Please speak into the microphone. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Eliza, then followed by Francesco.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can. Wow, okay. Shall I begin?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. So my name is Eliza Parad. I live in District 6. I live in Jamaica Plain. And yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself for a moment. There may have been a comment about me earlier. I do want to say I'm a 4th generation Bostonian. I live in Jamaica Plain with my 2 kids who are BPS students. I have been working as a community organizer for about 18 years at City Life Vida Urbana, at Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative, at the Boston Cyclists Union, and now I'm currently at Center for Economic Democracy. I am here representing the Better Budget Alliance, which is a citywide coalition from all districts of organizations that came together initially to pass the ballot question that gave City Council powers to amend the budget, as well as called for enabled participatory budgeting as a process. As someone, I've been doing, just to speak from what I've been seeing, I think one of the reasons why so many folks have been speaking up, and over 550 people sent postcards this year, emails, made calls, counselors referenced getting contacts from their constituents. for more funding for participatory budgeting. One thing that's been so beautiful to see is that it's been so unifying. As many of you spoke to, this is an opportunity for civic engagement and civic education, and it's not issue-based. You know, our coalition represents every issue in the city, but everyone is there because it is a way, as Councilor Lujan said, to put government and decision-making back in the hands of residents. And that is what people are really excited about, and that is what I'm excited about. And I have seen that happen over the years as I've participated in assemblies held by Right to the City Boston, where, you know, 500 people show up and make collective decisions about what their communities need and talk it through and discuss. And I've also seen it in other countries that I've lived in, and people, you know their needs and know the solutions. And so I'm really excited to see it and appreciate all the pieces of the process that have been made to really enable people to make those collective decisions, and also to focus on equity, as many of you noted. And I just want to say that because I don't hear people advocating for specific projects. People are excited about the ability for people to make decisions, but even when we go and do workshops, for example, at like a nonprofit that works on education and youth, the project ideas that come from the parents, like in those, we've done like mock PB experiments, range from so many different topics. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna wrap up. The most important thing to us is that we feel like to not use the full amount in the fund is really, really insulting, actually, to residents. And just to say, compared even to our partners in Cambridge, who, yes, they're in their 10th cycle, theirs is at 740 per capita, ours is at 290 per capita. In Somerville, which did its first cycle, it was at 1250 per capita in the first cycle. And we're at 0.004% of the budget. So, you know, it's a really small amount of the budget, and we do land in the middle looking at pilot PB cycles in terms of funding. However, if you look at all the pilot cycles, many of them started 10 years ago, and we've had PB for 10 years. We have our lessons learned, we're implementing best practices, and I think we're really ready to take on more than just $2 million for projects. And so that's really the piece. The process itself is looking really exciting, and we really urge you all to consider an amendment for some additional funding for projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Francesco?
My name is Francesco Tenna. I've been practicing participatory budgeting for 10 years. My work in Boston garnered local, national, and international recognition, the Mass Vote Cities Award, the City Livability Award by the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and the International Award for Urban Innovation by the Guangzhou Institute. All of this accomplished with a tenth of the budget that this office has at its disposal. Since then, I've been facilitating processes in schools, cities, counties, and states across North America. I'm glad to hear Director Costello feel inspired by the process my team designed for the City of New York. I deployed digital infrastructure for PB, set up fellowships for teenagers to learn PB, and convened practitioners around the world for skill sharing and sharing of best practices. I love this stuff, which is why it has pained me to see how this is unfolding in my hometown of Boston. Mayor Wu and this administration's behavior is consistent with administrations that don't want to do PB at all. The process is minimally funded, and they've recently committed to keeping it that way. Notice the office's response to why they don't want $40 million seems to be the most polished in practice. The office claims this is a year for learning, but has no stated learning objectives. Without these objectives, the evaluation will simply be a measure of activity, not of impact. If this was a year for learning, you'd think the office would hire a teacher, but the office has refused to involve anyone with actual experience doing participatory budgeting in the planning phase of this process. Not in the office, not on the oversight board, not even a consultant, which nearly every other city they cite in their research has done. Boston, Cambridge, Chicago, Seattle, Durham all worked with practitioners to design their first process. Instead, this office is piecing together parts of different processes with no guidance or design principles except for keep power close to the mayor. But because this process is mandated, Mayor Wu must carry it out. Effective participatory budgeting processes are marked by collaboration between community members and government, power sharing between electeds and residents, and courageous visions for the future. Mayor Wu's PB process is set up to be the most exclusive, isolating, and fear-based process that I've seen in North America. The most notable feature is that the board authors the final ballot in nearly every other city in the U.S. involving marginalized residents to play a critical role in this piece of the process is paramount. As such, this process barely qualifies as participatory budgeting and more represents the type of civic engagement theater that PB is designed to combat. Nice sounding activities, but where the mayor ultimately holds all the power. Whether you allocate $2 million or $40 million, winning projects won't reflect the priorities of the people. They'll reflect the priorities of the people that the mayor finds palatable and will make a good press release. Councilor Fitzgerald, you hit the nail on the head. Participatory budgeting, when done well, builds power in community that can eclipse that of this city council. I say this city council because in other cities of comparable sizes, city councilors usually have their own budgets they have control over for projects in their district. What I would offer councilors is for you all to consider what facets of PB you can all embed in your process. Imagine the impact the city council can have if they borrow a page from PB, unite around common priorities, and are able to confidently overturn the mayor's inevitable veto on the amended budget. For this office of PB to achieve its goals of equitable impact, we need another ordinance that corrects this unjust power structure. No one is asking for perfection. We're asking for respect. Respect for the countless volunteers that won a charter amendment campaign, respect for our residents' ability to engage in designing their own future, respect for authentic engagement, not this legislated tokenism we've been relegated to. Thank you.
Thank you. Want to thank the advocates and residents for their public testimony and all their hard work on making PB here possible here in the city of Boston today, and you continue work on this. Thank you. Councilor Mejia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, yes. 3 minutes?
No, go ahead. I'm going to give you 8 minutes.
I work really hard to earn my seat, so I better get my time. There we go. That's right.
Just click. Go. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. 10 seconds.
So, you know, I really do appreciate hearing from community, because ultimately, at the end of the day, that is who we serve, right? And having worked on the campaign on Yes on One, and what exciting momentum was built around the fact that people were gonna feel like they had a real voice in our decision-making process. Even before everyone was taking their budgets out into the streets, I was doing budget pop-ups all across the city at barbershops, hair salons, community groups, you know, really building the infrastructure for real community voice even before there was any infrastructure for that to happen. And so for me, now being here for 4 years, I'm just a little bit impatient, right, when it comes to really delivering on that promise. And so I'm going back to the question that I asked earlier in terms of appetite, in terms of really giving people a real voice in a decision process where they feel like they're really making decisions. And I feel like this dynamic, I guess, I'm just trying to choose all my words, dynamic that we've created here is that there is an alleged power, right? We have been led to believe that even the city council has power, but we don't. It is the Hunger Games when it comes to deciding which amendments we're going to fight for, who is going to be the casualty of our decisions. Then we have this participatory budget process in which it's not being fully funded at the rate in which people have been asking for. And I just wanted to name all of those things, that it's really frustrating for us to keep going back into community and saying, yes, this administration really cares about what you have to say, and that we're not hitting that mark. And I'm just curious, as you heard from public testimony, and I feel like we need to do this whole thing differently. It shouldn't just be the administration testifying during budget hearings. I feel like it's great to hear from public testimony, but they should also be panelists during this process, because then we can engage with them in a Q&A. But there is really no form or real formal structure for real community voice. It's only, we're gonna come hear what you have to say, and people line up. You get 2 minutes to speak, and do we really listen to people? And that's the question. How are we informing the work with the voices of the people, especially what you just heard? Can you just react to that? To react to what I asked, but in regards to the public testimony that you heard, specifically around the fact that other municipalities have contracted folks who are actually either consulting or really overseeing, like the lack of investment. Can you just respond to what you heard?
Thank you, Councillor. That has not always been the case. It's not like every municipality hires a group to design their process. So I just want to clarify that. I've talked to groups that they develop their own processes without the need of an external consultant guiding that.
But if they didn't hire a consultant, there was at least trust within the folks that you were getting your information from, right? So maybe not a consultant, but maybe another trusted entity or someone who has experience in participatory budgeting.
Yeah, and we've met with, I cannot even count, like a lot of municipalities doing this work, learning from their practices. We've engaged with the Better Budget Alliance in conversations about visions for the process. They've contributed to the process that we are in right now. We don't always agree on everything, but I really appreciate the thought partnership to build a process that works for the city and that tries to meet some of the vision of PV. So that will be my response. In the meetings that we've had weekly with the board for 3.5 months, there's always been the space for people to comment, especially from the board, to comment on the process, and they've been very critical in some instances. So, and we've incorporated that, and also we've made public testimony available at the end of every meeting, and the testimony has been addressed the very next meeting that we've had. And many of the changes that we made over time in creating the rulebook have incorporated comments and suggestions from the public. So I feel like we've made a very good effort in being open and receptive, but we're also have to fit the process given the resources and the local needs, local, how do you call it? Local conditions of the city. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I wanted to just uplift and I want to underscore, some of my previous colleagues have talked about, I call it information justice. And we've been doing a lot of work around accessibility. Specifically, we passed an ordinance where now whatever is in English, the same day gets translated to the top 11 languages. But during that time, I was really pushing for audio and visual ways of communicating with our constituents, because not everybody knows how to read and write, even in their native language, right? And so as we're talking about accessibility and we're talking about making sure that folks feel connected to this process, how are we grappling with the fact that there are some folks who are just disconnected or not going to be able to open up an app?
That's a very valid point. We've tried to address it in offering 4 different channels for people to connect with our office. One is the website, which even though we will try to make it as accessible as possible, we understand that not everybody feels comfortable going into a site, even though mobile version is very intuitive and all of that. At the most basic level of communication, we'll have a phone line that people can call, be multilingual, and leave their voicemail. So as long as they have a phone number, they can call us and leave their idea with us. and the space at the public libraries again, and then the effort of engaging with community groups to support this work, be an extension of our office out there in community, talking to people about the process. There is certainly much more that can be done. I am having that balance between trying to be very, very ambitious for our first year and kind of focusing on the key pieces that we can grow over time.
I know my time is about to ring.
Do you have another question, Councilman?
I do, sir.
I can give you another.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, actually, why don't you let the sidebar conversation here speak up, so that way I'm not tapping into her time.
No, I'm gonna give you the floor, Councilman.
sure?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure, because,
Yeah.
all right, so I guess what I'd like to know, someone had asked about the capacity of your ability to do a little bit more, and I'm curious, from just a process standpoint, have you been interfacing and interacting with other departments? Specifically, I'm thinking about some of the departments that, whether you have heard it from constituents or not, I know that I have, around, housing, youth jobs, some of the issues that have bubbled up to the top, where people can make decisions. What role do you see, if any, for the PB office to work in deep partnership with some of these other departments that could potentially pull some of their resources to help support the work and maybe increase that amount? Is there any energy around kind of like figuring out how we increase the dollar amount that the mayor has assigned to this very important process?
I will start, and then I'll let Director Costello add on. I think in designing this process, we're really thinking of it in two ways, like the actual, $2 million, you're voting on this, you're deciding these projects, but we're gonna get so much information from the public throughout the process that we, as part of the process that the team has designed, will filter through to city departments in their form of, some sort of report that folks will have available to them as they are developing their budgets that they are going to be creating for the upcoming fiscal year. And exactly to your point, they'll have the ability, we're seeing a lot of this theme incoming from community as part of the participatory budgeting process. Maybe we as a department need to realign our resources or ask for something different. And that, is part of just the regular budget process, and not, we're not just confined to this $2 million or whatever that amount is that people are going to vote on. So it's really designed and intended to be a way to inform the entire budget and not just this one particular slice.
Thank you. And I'll just end with what I started in terms of, I know that you're not able to answer what amendments we would make to the existing piece of legislation, but I do believe that there is an opportunity for us to revisit some decisions that were made when we first filed and passed, because I feel like in terms of community process, it feels a little bit flawed, and we have an opportunity to strengthen it. And I feel, while I appreciate this is the piloting season, I'd love to see more energy being put on engaging the public. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Anderson, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chair. Chief, I wonder, so all of the information that you're going to be, I'll wait for you to write your notes. All of this information, thank you, that you're going to be compiling from community, then not only informs PB projects or grants that you'll be developing, but also it informs the different cabinets in terms of, look, based on these assessments or surveys or information we're getting in, there's a huge emphasis on this need right here in particularly. And therefore them refocusing or aligning their budget priorities as well. But at some point, do the numbers work out where there's supplemental amounts going into PB? For example, if the city says, economic mobility says, you know what, a lot came on in terms of entrepreneurial service programs, and we're going to get $2 million. We're going to focus 2 million on that. But you know what? The advocacy is for 10 million because of the numbers of new business owners and all this other stuff that's going on. The need is so great that then do you then supplement the amounts over to PB, or do you then say we're addressing it in economic mobility, we don't, or OEOI, we don't need to send anything to PB?
I understand your question. I'm not sure how we would handle that because it hasn't happened quite yet, and how, we would envision supplementing one particular part of the budget over the other. So it's hard for me to answer directly without having happened, but, hopefully we are able to, if the process goes correctly and we get good information, we can at least have a new base of knowledge to give to departments to help inform what they're asking for as part of their upcoming process. And then, as the mayor is compiling the budget for the upcoming fiscal year, taking that information, if resources are available, making a decision at that point about whether to supplement EOI in your example or put more money towards PB. It would be really a choice for the mayor and then ultimately the city council as part of that budget process.
What's interesting is the entire notion of, PB is that it's people-led, right? People plan, people-led, putting democracy back into people's hands, as my colleague mentioned. But then putting the responsibility, the onus back into the department seems contradictory to that. And so if the community says, we want the power to be able to do this because, let's face it, the people that are going through PB are the ones that are less disenfranchised, like the ones that are, right, have less access, less affluent, less connections to resources, folks that need it, right? So folks that are going to go through PB, you'll get some of the overlaps, but for the most part, your people are going to ask because they need it. But then to say, to take a chunk of that out of PB ideas or priorities and have the city handle it, then it does feel contradictory. And you can see how the community, that conversation is coming, right? And I guess I'm, wondering about further analysis to actually assess, like in terms of supplemental, or where do we go with that, and how do we rationalize that the city will then take the majority of this money on this priority as opposed to give it to PB. And while I guess we ready PB, right, like for this process, this is what you guys are saying. And Director Costello, what happened in my time as chair of Ways and Means is that I connected with the community, and I was like less experienced, so my opinion had very little weight. But I gave a lot of opinion about how this would pan out. I said, this is what's going to happen. If the mayor is going to get ahead of it because she has a responsibility to be fiscally responsible, so she's going to think about ahead of time how she can take this into a hold of it. And I may or may not have done the same thing if I was her. And so I'm not judging. I'm saying that she wanted to take control of it. And then so she filed and did just that, just what I predicted. And then the community said, we want to work with the administration, which makes sense. You want collaboration. You don't want divisiveness. And there I said, okay, fine. I don't agree, but fine, do it. But what's going to happen is she's going to preserve the things that she wants in those clauses, in that ordinance. And you guys would have not stated on record completely what the community has advocated for. So either we file an amendment to it, or we file at least a resolution to go on record to show all of the things, all of the clauses that the community has been fighting for. At least put on record so that we can reference it later, so we can preserve these things. And then we can come back to this argument, because at some point there's going to be a need for an amendment to the ordinance, because the community would have still felt like it's not going the way we wanted it to. That did not happen. And so now here I am in my second term, and I'm hearing this, and none of it surprises me, like the opinion of the community or how the people feel or what's going on, because I'm not, I can't predict things. I can't predict the future, but just looking at it, and analyzing how human nature is, right? You figured this was going to happen, and here we are. it's not necessarily, oh, the mayor doesn't want democracy, the mayor doesn't want these things, but in her shoes, how is she going to be fiscally responsible in controlling a thing that is going to be perceivably undemocratic and not inclusive or not transparent? But then there's a higher responsibility of preserving her seat, of making sure that she's responsible fiscally, and also figuring out a way that she can control and manage it without being irresponsible in a way that we just start spending money and it doesn't make sense. If that's the rationale, fine, there's no ill intentions. But then now we have a community, organizations, experts that have great ideas, great projects. It's on record. We know that people want this to happen differently. We're complaining about the board not being representative of, of the city of Boston in terms of demographically, but also that the process itself, that you should have been ahead of this, that you should have already been implementing some sort of pilot programming to say, well, then where's your example that it doesn't work to try to spend this money? You have none, because you've not implemented a pilot program. So you see where all of this is coming, and you're new in your seat, technically, and you're looking at different ways of handling yourself. And this conversation, honestly, or this platform, is not where we look at your policies or how you're executing. It's for us to take it, either we're going to do it policy-wise, and we're going to file a thing, and we're going to put our money where our mouth is, or we're taking it to the mayor and we're saying, this is not working. And as a collective body, we're taking things to account. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that not because we're divided as a council, but because people have different positions in terms of, how they move policy or how they move the money. So it feels awkward to hear people say stuff like, this is what this, like a definitive extreme position on this is why, because really it's more about politics and how things move in terms of, at the end of the day, the city council, it's a mayor-strong city. The city council will vote based on what's advantageous for them as well, in order for them to move their own policies and their own things that they want to move. So this transactional thing that happens, not special to this mayor, just the nature of the beast, the nature of this thing. It is what it is, but my position is that I'm gonna continue to push for what community wants, no matter what. I'm gonna be transparent about it. I'm gonna file if I have to. I'm gonna go on record, and then let history speak for itself, right? In terms of like, what did we actually do to advocate for what the community wants? So that's, I needed to like break that down for people watching, but for myself, just to put it in perspective that the beef is not with you, but hopefully this is an opportunity for us to open up the doors and say, let's work together and make this better really fast. And I definitely agree with the public testimony. You definitely need a pilot program, at least at some incremental level. You need something. You can't reference anything. You can't say you've tried anything, right? So while you're developing this theoretical piece of it, the policy, the procedure part of it, you need something tangible for people to become believers, and you're not doing that yet. So hopefully you're open.
I just appreciate all the context, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. The vision is for this to be the pilot process. So we want to learn from it and then see what's needed after we finish to continue to improve it over time.
The 1-year timeline?
What I'm proposing here, we're calling it a pilot. It's a space for learning and refining. So we're going with it.
Just slowly. I got you. Just very slowly. That's the city's thing. Just everything takes a long time while people have real needs.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson. I had a question regarding the budget. It's line item 56,200, the special appropriation. What can you tell me more? Like what? I don't know anything about that line item. We're moving $350,000 out. Why are we moving $350,000 out?
I think I have it. It's in the,
One second.
All right.
what is this? So from special appropriation in FY24 goes to.
Oh,
contracted
I see.
services.
So I think in last year's budget, all 2 million was put into that special appropriation account. And so this year, we moved a portion of that to contracted services to allow for kind of the operations of the office and getting this process up and running. And so that explains that move. It's just reallocating it to a different account number.
Okay, and then the 1.4 million is
So that would be what is left over, right, for projects?
For projects,
Yeah,
okay.
but as I mentioned, we're using a portion of the unspent balance from the prior year to make that total amount 2 million for this upcoming process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
And just want to thank you guys for your time and your work, everyone who came to testify, all my council colleagues, central staff, BPD, my team, and IGR. Oh, Denise is not in the room. And the hearing on docket number 0670 through 0678 is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.